Sup, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the best gaming podcast, number 598. Man.
Boom. Almost 600.
Almost 600. Yeah. 600 podcasts. 600 single times where we've sat down. I don't think a podcast has ever been under 2 hours. 2 or 3 hours.
No.
So, like,
dude, no.
Dude, hang on one second.
And we've gone close to 4 a few times.
Yeah, we have. We have. So let me do something here. What is that? That's
big celebration for number 600.
Hours. Yeah, 1900 hours. Yep. We'll have to.
Yeah, we always do
a big celebration.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not big celebrationists.
It's 600 today, if anybody cares, and then we move on. We have actually some. Whoa! I clicked off of Johnny. Give me 1 second. There we go. Johnny's back. Sorry about that. I always got to remember I can't click. I can't like minimize the Discord window.
Oh yeah.
We have a bunch of stuff to talk about. GTA 6 pre-orders go live soon. We're gonna talk about the price. Some speculation there. Speculation of what the game. I guess what the game's overall offering will be, especially without online. And then Xbox layoffs. There's some more layoffs today, not from Xbox, from some third-party companies I'm hearing about. So EA was one of them. Ubisoft was last week, I think, week before last. But yeah,
yep.
A lot of companies, I guess, doing fiscals. So it's pretty crazy, man. A lot of people being laid off. Going to be a rough time.
Yeah, it's been nuts.
World round. Yep, it's been nuts.
Yeah, the big Xbox reset, how it's panning out.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty wild.
Listen to this. I forgot. Get in there. He's green screened. Let me get in front of him. There we go.
Nice.
Brand new dog, Sticks. Named after his getaway Sticks, as well as he looks like the goblin in the game.
Welcome, buddy.
Yep. Yeah, he's awesome, man. We got him 2 days later. Lau died, and so we put him down, and so he got to play for 2 days, and then he went south on us like instantly, and we were like, all right, stop. Like he's been around 15 years. Lau was. So
sorry to hear, man. That's always tough. Yeah.
I mean, it could be. It's not for me. I feel like that's our job. He gave me 15 years of being my best friend. He was my dog, and he was fucking fantastic. And Ming, Zen, Loki, they've all been fantastic. Sai and Baron are fantastic. They're a little crotchety. They're a little old man. A little like, this is my party. This is my spot. But we applied for a bunch, and he showed up, and I don't know what it is about him. He just looks so unique. He lived with the giant ears, and I had just seen a picture of Styx, the character from the Goblin character, and I was like, either that or Dobby, the house elf from like Harry Potter. And I was like, I don't want to.
Styx is a good.
Yeah,
it's a good dog,
works,
man.
and he loves Styx. So I was like, and he's got massively long legs, and I always call
because it's also
Styx.
Short, so you're not gonna be like nicknaming that even further.
Yep, I don't want to be like, Aloysius P. Kublai the Third.
Yeah, you call it Socrates, or something.
Yeah, people are like, what the hell is he doing? But yeah, so yeah, Lau had an awesome life, man. Like we took him in. I mean, maybe it'll hit me later, but I was like, I'm gonna miss his companionship, but
of course,
he's been around for so long, that at some point you have to do it for him. He was in rough shape. So, but not bad news, all good news. He's up there chasing balls in heaven. My hope is if there's a heaven, I get to have all my dogs. That would be like the one best thing. People are like, would you want to see all your family? And I'm like, well, no, I'm just joking. I mean, I don't know. Okay.
Maybe not all the time.
Here's a question for you. If heaven was real, and you could have all the pets you've ever had, or it was like family and all your loved ones are there, which would you choose?
Is it either or? Like I only have one? That's a tough one. I'd probably still go with my family, mostly mom and dad. I'm pretty close with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to choose, probably go with them. But yeah, I mean, pets, I've always been very close to. I've had a ton of cats growing up. And now I have my cat for over 7 years. We're very close too. So
Yeah.
100%, you know, closer
I'd
than
choose family too.
than
Obviously,
most people.
Yeah, obviously joking, but the idea of like,
Yeah.
I hope when I go up there, you know,
The fact that
if I make it.
I had to think about it tells you, you know.
Yeah. Debate says, I realized August, September, and October are packed, but June and July are pretty dry. Why don't more games move up into July? Well, they can't. I mean, that is a good 3 or 4 months that you would be completely rejiggering your entire development cycle.
Yeah.
And while I've managed teams that do it, Johnny works on them, and I can tell you, if somebody came to you and said this program needs to release 3 months earlier, there is absolutely there is absolutely no positive in
unless you're so ahead of the curve that you can afford it. It usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, because ahead of the curve would mean that you planned it. I mean, because all that stuff, you know, is sort of like done in a very particular way. It'd be such a weird thing.
Yeah, and usually you know your plan is kind of optimistic. People don't often approve plans that are like super conservative because it means you could be doing it in less time, technically.
Yep.
So a lot of times they shoot for, you know, the closest they can.
Yeah. Yeah, everything comes in tight on that deadline for the most part.
Yeah. And then like if you wanted to push it later, it gets tricky because December is a bit of a dead month. And then like January is still also a bit weird. Still a bit tied to downtime.
Yeah.
And then February, that's the big one.
Moving on from that, let's talk about GTA. So pre-orders finally got a date. They're beginning June 25th, so pretty quick here. Of course, their stock probably bounced. I never saw it, but I would assume that probably rose as well. But what do we think? I asked the chat what for the poll what they thought the prices would be. I said 100 plus, 32% say that, $90, 26%, $70, 42%, $60, 0. So 60. I mean, listen, it came up yesterday. Somebody was like, what if they did it at 60 to just be like even, you know, because I mean, dude, there's a chance you would sell more. And it's just, would you sell? Here's the thing. One sale of 60, you know, that is worth a ton of money. I mean, $60. It's like, so if you were to drop it to a price point to where everybody could get it, you know, everybody could
and
get
you could have
a unique
and
situation.
they will, I'm sure they will have different editions, you know, so it would make sense if they had maybe a base edition that's your bare bones foot in the door edition, $60.
$60. So what do you think the price will be for GTA pre-orders? What do you think?
I think we're looking at 80. That's what I thought. I thought they would push it to 80.
Push it to $80.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good. I mean, it's hard to know. I think 80s. I think 80s fair in this time frame.
Yeah, and again, we'll have different versions. I'm sure we're gonna have the early, you know, few days early, where you pay 10, 15 bucks more. Yeah, and a lot of people will go for that. So, yeah, I don't know how important it is to include that in the discussion, but it just is the reality now that a lot of people don't go for the lower price, and they do, you know, splurge for the early access or some of the goodies.
That's why I personally think there's no loss for them if they do an early access.
I agree with you.
There just isn't, especially if the get-in price is a good price, and then the extra. We've seen it work really well. We saw it work insanely well with Forza. Of course, that's an online game, but this is GTA. It is its own thing. It's gonna. I mean, you have like creators, hundreds of thousands of creators who will be doing videos. So within one day, you're not even going to have to run an ad. There's going to be, you know, 100,000. Everybody's entire, you know, video stream is going to be GTA. So,
Yep.
You know, how would you handle that? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm glad we finally got a date. There was an analyst who said something like what's up, Noctis? Their assumption was that it had the possibility of selling 40 million copies day one. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, but I don't know what the copies day one is. Like I don't know what the record for day one copies is, especially if you consider pre-orders day one. They started in June. Maybe it's not too crazy. If they ramp up a couple game videos, show you some stuff, and it looks amazing.
I think that is unprecedented, right?
Oh, yeah,
especially for a for a PlayStation only launch, that would be bananas.
Console only,
but
not PlayStation only.
Isn't it only on PS5?
What, GTA?
Yeah, GTA. Is it also Xbox?
Yeah.
Am I tripping?
Yeah, you are tripping.
Okay. Wow. All right, my bad. This entire time in my head, I had the narrative that they had it coming out on PlayStation first somehow.
No, they've even discussed that they've got it running on the Series S, which is going to be half of the reason I play the game, to see like
that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. But I mean, consoles, even what you said, like that's crazy to me. 40 million.
But it's not, albeit unprecedented, it's not crazy to think, because maybe we'll get to that. We were kind of recapping some of the big games this year. I mean, some of them have hit like 6-7 million units in the first day or few days. I mean, there's an easy reach to think we could go to 40, because GTA is just that much bigger than everything else.
Like I said, Crime Boss Rocket sold 1 million. They did.
Yeah.
We got a PR announcement where they were like, Crime Boss Rocket sold 1 million. They've got a bunch of, they're on patch 52. And that game, I think, was just considered a joke. So I don't even remember.
I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see, man. It's going to be exciting to sort of have this here, but also it's definitely going to be a very weird time after it, because while there are all these big games that have come, Cyberpunk, Starfield, these games that people were really interested in, like where these companies are going, all these big titles, and Elder Scrolls is probably your next big one. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple that might be, but just that's crazy, man. Like the idea of this game coming and then like the next day be like, what the fuck? I'm currently reporting from a stolen car in honor of GTA. Well, that's good. That's
wow.
Good.
Great.
Might as well, yeah. I mean, dude, the number of people I know who are getting that game is pretty much 100%. So, or close to it, as close to it as possible. Never as high. Somebody said that they thought GTA 5 sold 15 million copies on day one. That's amazing. It just doesn't even make sense. That's so high.
Yeah.
And then, so we got to see the cover art. By the way, this is the only company in the world that can do a video with some music and the cover art and have 4.3 million views in like an hour and a half. I don't know how many million views that's up now, but just their cover art. And it said like introducing, it wasn't a trick. It was like, here's our cover art for GTA 5. And it had like, I'm sure it's well over 5 million video views as of now. It's probably double, triple that. Dude, yeah, it's ridiculous. And I bet you there's somebody who watched it again. It's a screenshot of like what their cover art will be. And I'm sure somebody's like, and watched it again. K-Blaze says, just kidding, I'm actually more hyped for Fable. Yeah, Fable looked pretty good in the event. I mean, it looked...
Yeah.
And it looked real.
Yeah, it's some issues.
Frame rate issues and stuff like that. So
lip sync and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's early.
Lip sync is hard. It just seems like it's one of the more difficult things that we always get for lip sync. Let's cover one of your stories. What's one of the first things you want to discuss?
So I thought it would be cool to do a little mid-year recap of some of like the biggest successes this year in games, and just like kind of appreciate some of the games that came out that were really cool.
For sure.
So just go in order. This is not like a formal rank or anything. I was just trying to gather data about like metrics, milestones, and stuff from these games. But it's not a perfect comparison because we don't get perfect data on it. But Resident Evil Requiem sold 6 million copies in 17 days. And I saw that was Capcom's fastest selling Resident Evil ever, which is very cool. I think for them, a very good result. Very cool to see.
Yeah.
Did you have a good lasting impression of that game when you think back, like your time playing it?
Yeah, I enjoyed that game. I thought it was pretty well done. There was yeah. In all honesty, I mean, that is Resident Evil numbers. So like not saying it's the best game in the world, but I really liked it. I liked the different characters. I liked even watching people stream it. Yeah, I would say, it was a good one. It wasn't, my favorite may always be the house one, the 7 or whatever. It just may be stuck at that, or Code Veronica in particular. We'll see how the remake is, but technically, it's up there. It's higher than Village. Yeah, it's probably it's second or third favorite.
Yeah, I think 4 maybe for me was even more fun, but definitely like this one a lot, and I think big success with the new character.
Right.
What was her name? Claire?
Claire.
No.
Yeah. Claire. No, wait.
Yeah.
Wait. No, it was.
No.
Oh.
What? Why do I have Claire in my head?
Because Claire.
Someone will fact check us in chat.
Grace.
Grace. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Claire is a character in Resident Evil, but I don't know why.
Right.
I immediately thought you're right. It'll be cool to see what they do with the next one, where they go with it. But I've been saying that for a long time, and they always sort of seem to stick generally to an established format. So, But some of these characters are getting old they're getting old. They don't look old or act old, but they're technically getting old in the.
Leon is getting up there.
Yeah.
In like the limit of the daddy zone.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely up there.
Do you expect him to still like show up, or do you think this was kind of
Here's what
farewell
I would love
to that? Yeah.
I would love for them to have him heroically. Well, yeah. I would like something to happen. Well, there's some stuff does happen in this one. So like I don't know. Now that I even remember the plot for this one. It's sort of this game, so I've never really loved the Resident Evil plots. I like where they put you. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I like this one a lot, in fact, is because I did like the helicopter moment, those kind of things. I thought those were just great. But I almost never remember the stories too much because they are all the same. They are all like... They're just generally the same.
Your cheesy horror.
Yeah.
So like, why are we going to this horrible house?
Yeah. Like I didn't care. There's one scene I'm not going to say that I was like, oh, I figured that was going to happen. That's crazy and awesome. And that's what I remember from that storyline was those kind of moments. I think those kind of moments, that's all the Resident Evils. Like I don't even remember much of the storyline in my favorite one, which is 7. I remember more Code Veronica, but at that point, Resident Evils
it's
weren't
more
so
moments
repetitive.
And the vibe.
Yeah.
We got some other games like Subnautica 2 was one of the biggest early access launches ever. They sold 2 million copies in 12 hours. They had something like 600,000 concurrent players across all platforms. So, yeah, it hit really big. And they had insane issues, right, in the dev cycle, like all the controversy with within the company, and who's the bad guy in that situation wasn't totally clear, but somehow they still came out pretty strong. And I'm happy for that. I'm a big Subnautica fan. It's cool to see. They still have a long way to go. Having played it, it's still very lean as a game, but it's a good foundation.
Yeah.
So I was happy with that. Battlefield 6, oddly enough, I was looking at that. 7 million units in the first 3 days. EA was saying it was the year's best-selling shooter. That might be just
when it
for
first
them.
Came out,
I guess.
It definitely exploded.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people play it now, but it was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of people streaming that, memes coming out of it, all the destructible stuff popping up. And yeah, I think that was a pretty big success for them. And then speaking of success as well, 007 hit really well. 1.5 million copies as well, first 24 hours. They were saying fastest selling title in IO Interactive's history. And they've had some good ones. What do you think there? Are we going to see, they said it probably wasn't going to be IO doing more 007 titles.
Well, that sort of came and went. Who knows, right? Who knows? Amazon wants their piece of the pie or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I hope so because they deserve it. But I also like Hitman. So if they continue making Hitman, but it's like doing a collab rap album. Somebody comes on or doing a diss track, you're going to get their fans and your fans at least listening once. That's sort of what they did. They got Bond and they got Hitman fans. And they did a fairly serviceable job making it not feel alien to either group and actually doing a good job with Bond. So, I mean, I didn't love the Bond caricature, but I didn't hate it. And I think that that's the best outcome they could have is that somebody didn't hate.
I think so.
And that's good because if they don't hate that and they like the gameplay, they're probably still buying it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it landed in a weird spot because the gameplay isn't as good as Hitman for me.
Yeah.
But then the story also isn't as good as other story-based games. So it was kind of a weird middle ground. But I liked the actor, surprisingly, and the cast and the presentation and stuff. And I thought it had good pacing. So even though the gameplay wasn't, let's say, up there with Hitman and other stuff, it was still really fun to go through. I haven't finished it yet, but it's been really, really good overall.
Yeah, a lot of people like it. What other ones?
Mugenics, 500,000 copies in 36 hours. Pretty big indie hit. The game is massive, right? You can expect to spend hundreds of hours if you wanted to complete that and do most of the content.
Yeah.
And really cool. It was the guy from Binding of Isaac, so this was his next big game. Had been working on it for years. Cool to see. Crimson Desert, obviously really big release as well. I'm seeing here top 5 in US year-to-date sales. So pretty strong there. MLB The Show, 26, also in the top 5 there.
Cool.
And then also in the top 5, Pokemon Pocopia. Did you get to play that one or no?
No.
On the Switch, yeah.
No.
Nice little cozy one. And then WWE 2K26.
Wow. Really?
Also
2K26?
in there. Also in the top 5. Yeah. And the honorable mention to Code Vein 2, smaller title, but it was among Steam's top selling January launches. We didn't have a ton of stuff in January, but it came out pretty much together with Neo, which is crazy for them to do. And still, despite of that, they sold pretty well. So cool for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, despite the other stuff, there have been some games doing really well. There's been a lot of games that didn't do well, but there's been, the occasional big hitter. I think most of those, I've played about half of those. WWE surprises me, but I guess it doesn't at the same time because it's wrestling and a game. So once again, collab kind of thing. But That's the only one on that list. I know MLB was really popular, and a lot of people were digging the hell out of MLB. So makes sense that like it sold that well.
Anecdotally, we heard people in our Discord talk a lot about it all the time.
About MLB?
MLB, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of streaming of MLB. I think it might have been Reaper, and maybe it was Wizard of Smoke. It might have been Wizard of Smoke too. I can't remember, but there were 3 or 4 people all streaming MLB for a while. And really genuinely enjoying it. So that one did well. It looked good. It looked like it was fun to play. They got a nice career mode. Like, these sports games are, they're repetitive, but so is the sport. You can't expect much more. I think WWE would be high in money made when the entire game cost around $600 for a buggy, broken game. The video's been hilarious. Yeah, I thought that it had reviewed insanely poorly, but I don't know if fans who just want a new roster and want to jump in on the new stuff, it just might be one of the things that they want to do, Will we see an ACG 007 review? I would like to. That's about all I'll say. I would like to, but I didn't bounce off the game, but I did end up playing it and liked what I played, but then life got in the way and ended up doing some previews and ended up doing another review for a couple other games, and it was just like, oh shit. And then I looked back and I was like, it's very difficult to do those older reviews. It's difficult to put myself in the mindset of it, because I am pretty driven with, like, is this worth your day? Because everybody else has already told you, and there's so much more content out. I don't feel the same drive of, like, gotta be like absolutely right on what you say so that people know, because they can't buy without data. But now with James Bond, there's a bunch of data. And I feel like now it's sort of your fault if you buy it and you don't like it because it's out there, and it's just sort of kills my desire to, like, critique.
Yeah, it's like your incentives are shot, because on one hand, people
I'm really into, like, nobody's going to have data on this, but they're probably going to pre-order or buy day one. So I want to make sure that it's, like, rock solid on what the information people have. Because I've been
plus the
so
video
many times.
Probably doesn't do that well.
Not as big of a deal. They don't at all. But now, other than, you don't want a video to do bad, now Agent 007 probably do pretty well. Because it's double. What I mean by pretty well is probably
you could still make it work.
Yeah, you could make some money. Yeah.
And
depends on the game.
So from that list we talked about, I thought a couple things were interesting, and I wanted to run it by you. One is that all of those games were very different, so we didn't see, like, one genre really predominate in the
and Forza
kind of
is going
top.
to be on that list.
Forza's obviously in there.
More than 1 million, more than 2 million, I think, in 2
crazy.
days. Yeah.
So, we got, like, a bit of everything, which is cool. I think that's a healthy signal from the industry, that it's not just, like, one type of game succeeding or one company, that type of thing. Is that your read as well, or?
I mean, those weren't the only games that sold that.
It wasn't exhaustive, no.
So, I mean, who knows? But I would say no. It doesn't. If there were a bunch of really good shooting games and shooting games sold well that year, I wouldn't say, oh my God, that's an indication just shooting games are going to sell well. So I think, in all honesty, it's just an indication that people made some really good games. Their PR happened to be perfect, and one guy didn't need as much PR, the Mugenics guy, because he'd been working on it for a while. He did his own dev diaries, because I was following that game before it came out, and that game is it does a great job with its IP, which is cats. It does a great job because it understands that everything needs to sort of fit cats. It can't just be cats or a skin and this is XCOM or whatever. It's like the things, and this is why South Park succeeded so well. South Park, the reason why those games succeeded wasn't just South Park, because their long tail sales wouldn't be that good. The reason why those succeeded is they took the IP and they fit it into the game perfectly. And they fit the game so that you had your elements were weird. The characters you saw were weird. It was a good reflection of that IP, and a good reflection of Cats is Mugenics. It is a good reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious when you think about it. Every single thing is really wrapped.
Yeah, the mechanics are tied into Cats
to
and
the
like
fiction of Cats.
How they operate.
It worked great. It worked great. Super chat. Ski with Rob. $10 about Guild Wars 3 reveal. Yeah, that was surprising. Maybe not surprising. Maybe people knew. It was surprising for me. It looks stunning in Unreal Engine 5. Can anything ever unseat WoW in the near future? Or is the WoW killer concept impossible? Does Gears of War... does Guild Wars 3 even need to beat WoW for success? Good question. And again, super thanks for the super chat. It does help the channel. So... I don't think there's a WoW killer. I think WoW will die over time, for sure. And maybe they'll refigure it, and they'll figure out a way to make a WoW that fits today's gamers, and people jump in. But I don't think there'll be one company that's a WoW killer. I think there will be multiple companies that chip away, and multiple games, and multiple people jumping into games. So as games get larger, WoW doesn't have a hold on a newcomer like it may. In fact, a lot of my friends who are younger don't know what WoW is, but there's no desire to play WoW because there's no nostalgia towards it. There's a desire to play Dune or a newer MMO that comes out like a Guild Wars. So that's my take on it, is that I think over time itself will be the killer, unless they do the smart thing. And then I think we should celebrate it, which is they figure out how to get that MMO to continue to do well and people enjoy their fucking time. And then that's the greatest thing in the world. Imagine a hobby you love lasting that long, because a lot of hobbies I have ebb and flowed. You know, they've been popular for 5-10 years, then gone down, movie types. Right now we're in superhero and we're sort of on the superhero fatigue thing, but it's like somebody may pop up and figure that out. If they don't, some other things, zombies for the longest time were huge. They're still huge, but you get my drift. Things go up and down. If they can figure that out, they're in good shape forever. And they should. They should continue to be trying to figure out a way to make it competitive. I would like to see their hardware survey. Like, how old is the system? Because if their hardware survey shows that most of those people aren't playing Windows 98 SE like I did the very first time after hacking the memory register, then, we might see them finally say, a new day for, and actually make the graphics, a step up, because they are definitely ancient as fuck. So
they're in a weird situation because they need to keep servicing their loyal fan base, which want that presentation, those graphics, that gameplay. So they can't really evolve from that unless they do a completely new version, and they have to maintain different SKUs of the game, like they have the classic, and that maybe they could just keep that and do a new version.
That's exactly what I think. I mean,
that might happen over time, right?
It might, or they do. This will never happen. And I always talk about not listening to fans, but I think on something like this, it would be interesting whether that it shouldn't drive the developer. In fact, here's how it should happen. Instead of the developer saying, "What do you want to see?" the developer comes up with 5 future looks for WoW and lets people look at them and say, you maybe don't even survey, just say, we're looking at the future of WoW's graphics, and here's what we're looking at. And just watch people engage with it, and see, like, oh, I like version 4 a lot. Version what, you find out version 1 and 2 people hate. You're like, that's good to go. They hate them. For some reason, that's not what, people feel visually attracted to, but people, dig 3, 4, somewhat 5, and you go from there and figure out if you want to make those changes or not. You could do something like that. It's one of the few games in the world where something like that would actually be worthwhile, because you do have people, like you said, who are sitting there for ages, and just, really engaged. That game is just, I mean, I don't know what their profit margins are on that, but I feel like it has to be unbelievable.
Yeah,
like
I would think so. Yep,
crazy amount.
But I think we need better, maybe subcategories, because MMOs can be very different. You know, Final Fantasy 14 compared to WoW, compared to Guild Wars, Black Desert. Like the gameplay at a fundamental level is so different. If you were to play something like Black Desert or Guild Wars, which is much more like action oriented, you know, you have combos and like that type of stuff. And then you compare it to like WoW, where it's about like pressing all your buttons and stuff. Maybe Final Fantasy 14, you know, you have to press your buttons in sequence type thing. Those are just so different that I think the people that you're selling to is also almost no overlap in the Venn diagram, you know?
Might be. I don't know. I think that the only thing out of that I would like say is 100% is that I think while people love having all the moves, I think a lot of people do feel that the old 3 taskbars on the left, 3 on the right is probably overkill, and we are using the same control scheme, and so we're sort of stuck there. I think there's also some overlap. If you can play a game where you're on a controller and it doesn't feel, you know, like a burden, then that's a big positive for anybody, because then you don't even have to just engage with your keyboard fans. You have a whole, you know, 100 million consoles or whatever that you can, and plus people who are on the PC who might want to play on a gamepad. I know that seems crazy, but dude, I don't know why it seems crazy, but everybody seems
now
to
it
think
doesn't,
that's just
because
nuts.
we've seen some good implementations of that. Like, you know, Final Fantasy 14 did a good job. What are some other games?
Well, I mean, all of the action MMOs, almost all of them are controller based or have
maybe not WoW, right?
And they work fine. Yeah, but I mean, DC Universe, it's not as popular now. Massively popular. The game's 13 years old and it already had console commands. So like, or keyboard, or sorry, it was on the consoles, and people seem to like it just fine. So they were already looking at Secret World was like that. Yeah, we'll just have to see. But I mean, I think the keyboard, the big list of moves, hitting 674413, 674413, 6744, that is repetitive to me. But also repetitive are the action ones. They get repetitive too. There is no really perfect MMO either. I can definitely say that. I think Guild Wars does a really good job in its niche, an incredible job. But I don't know if that has any impact on WoW. And will it have an impact on WoW 6 months later? Right?
Yeah. Like it's always tough to displace an existing population, right? Because those people are ingrained in the habit. Maybe, you know, they got their social group they play with, they go in maybe every evening. And that's the level of commitment of a lot of that community. And then to displace someone at that level of commitment is really, really tough.
K Blaze says there are MMO fans and fans of specific MMOs. The latter are less likely to swap.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. There might be a bigger subset of people than I'm thinking that are effectively MMO hoppers. So whenever there's a new one, they're excited to jump in, grind it out, and experience it, right? And it doesn't matter if it's more action-based or whatever. They might just like different MMO games and like to experience them all.
Debate Nate says Neo 3 is still my game of the year, but I'm a big sucker for Souls games. Panahero says, don't know if mentioned, but some retailer listed Onimusha for release 3 weeks earlier. Yeah, I saw. We talked about that prior to the podcast. So I have heard for sure that there are definitely moves happening. Then I saw that news this morning as well, that at least they are thinking of moving. I think that makes sense. If you can do early, that's great. If you can do late, I think it's also great, because I think some people are going to go into December with some December Christmas money too, or come out of Christmas with some Christmas money. And, you know, it might show that December can be a good year or a good time for sales. December always seems like it's a little bit more towards a console release or deals on consoles and getting the big present. But I think, hey, if you release a good game, probably you'll get people wanting it for Christmas, or you're going to get people who have, a Christmas bonus who set aside $60 to get it for themselves.
That's
I
what
think
I always
December
thought.
Can still do really well.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not a thing. But
yeah,
I always thought, like, people are on holiday, it's a good time.
Yeah.
To release a game.
Robert says, any thoughts on the State of Decay 3 gameplay that was shown? Yeah. I mean, yeah, it looked like State of Decay. It looked graphically better, but pretty much everything that I saw, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched little snippets. I have no clue who that person is. I at first was like, are they real? Maybe they're a dev. Maybe they're just a tester, a normal person, but it doesn't matter. What they showed for sure was the game. It looked cool. And it looked like a big graphical upgrade, which is probably the main thing I want from State of Decay. I'm not like Silver, where I want entire groups of special enemies gone or anything like that. I just sort of want the basic State of Decay gameplay with a game engine that doesn't look just cranky old. And my love for those games was despite their engine, which to me is like, this is how, this is like sort of the way I want a game to play. So I liked it even though. So if Unreal comes along and improves it, then that's great.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have more technical issues. But I mean, that game had technical issues on the old engine. So maybe you're just trading one technical issue for another. And in all honesty, I can usually get an Unreal game to perform quite well. State of Decay was difficult to get it to perform at a baseline all the time. And that was another engine. So it's like trade-off to an engine I know and INI files I know how to hack, and mods that I know are going to come out on Unreal, which are going to be easier for people to do performance mods or fix mods. Probably a big positive for them.
Yeah.
Have you played the new Age of Wonders 4 DLC? I have not, but I'll tell you what, Age of 4 Wonders is the only game where I buy the DLC sight unseen. It's the only game in history I've ever done that. Yeah, I would. Oh no, the other one, the Sims, the medieval one where you can sell people's kids. That I always talk about. And it's sort of, once you start playing it like the Sims, you do really well. Guild. The Guild? No. Why am I not remembering the name of that game? Somebody in chat help me with this one. It's the game where I think it's also by the same company. Oh man, I can't believe I can't remember this. This is what lack of sleep last night did.
Not enjoy, right? Not that.
No, this is the medieval one where Crusader Kings. Jeez, thank you very much. I was never going to get that. I was stuck on Guild Kings or something. But anyway, Crusader Kings, fantastic title. Those two games, I'll buy the DLC sight unseen. Age of Wonders is probably my favorite of all time of a kingdom builder game. No, it is. Yeah. My brain literally said, no, it is, before I said, no, it is. As I was talking, I heard that inner voice going, dude, just go ahead. That game is fucking incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought it. I want seamless multiplayer on State of Decay 3. I don't really know what I want. I mean, obviously, you would want that, right? I think that overall, I would be okay with a fairly working co-op, but to me, State of Decay has always been about me and what I'm building and the solitary environments I build, and then occasionally a friend comes in. So I want them to make sure that the single-player game is actually where I want it to be, versus because I'm not going to want to play it co-op if the game isn't good. Like, that's the thing, is if the game isn't good, seamless co-op is like, hey, you want to come play the not good game with me and not have fun? No. People are going to be like, dude, you don't like the game. Why would I jump in? It's fucking, that's ridiculous. But if you like the game and it's got some problems with co-op, at least I can say, hey, this game's worth some issues, the occasional disconnect or whatever like that. But
interesting. So the single player is the foundation for you
Well,
of
yeah,
that
the
game.
mechanics of the single player are the mechanics of the multiplayer. So, like, they have to nail all that. And those mechanics that they've nailed are unique to their game. It is pretty unique. I mean, it does a lot of things other games do, but State of Decay does it in it's just a different style. There's something almost DayZ about it mixed with, it's its own thing. It's its own thing. So I'm more interested in how it plays. And for me, and then that'd be great if we get other people involved. But I'm not going to be inviting people. There's too many games anymore. In the old days, I would invite people to a shit game or a game that I didn't love. I'd be like, hey, man, you want to jump into this okay game to have an okay time now? No. There's way too many good games that you're not going to have an
the bar is very high now.
The bar is very high. So when State of Decay, for example, I could say, do you want to jump into State of Decay? It's okay. Or if you want to jump into, what's the shooter that we used to play? You, Reg, and I played. We played the beta.
Space Marine or Back 4 Blood.
No, the Back 4 Blood. And they improved that. Yeah. And if I told people, let's play Back 4 Blood versus State of Decay, if State of Decay's mechanics aren't fun, people, and I know that one's a first person, one's a third, I'm just saying zombies, we'd probably play, Back 4 Blood. So you just you got to nail it. There's a lot of competition in every genre. We just spent 15 minutes talking about fucking WoW. WoW is one game in a big genre, but there's like 18 fucking genres, and almost all of them now have a heavy hitter in there that's holding gamers for a long period of time. So Inzoi is great too. I agree. I think Inzoi is probably the closest to a Sims-like that I've seen do a pretty goddamn good job. Yeah, pretty good job. What else we got for news?
Let's see. The Unreal Engine launch, the UE6 launch, got a date for 2027. That's going to be early access, so it's still a ways away. But cool to see they unveiled some pretty impressive stuff with AI, right? And a lot of new features. I think it's crazy to think what you're going to be able to do as maybe a solo dev or, small team.
Yeah.
With some of those tools. I know that it does come with drawbacks, and you can say like people losing jobs because of it and stuff. But if you try to take the good side of that as well, the power in the hands of just like a small team, I think it's going to be really, really cool to see.
I mean, people losing jobs, maybe who are engine creators and stuff like that, but there's also people now being able to make jobs, make their own games. You might have a person who might lose a job as a composer because something pops up, but they might be able to look at Unreal and say, you know what, I'm a composer, so I have both parts already. I'm going to make a game. I mean,
right.
That's absolutely a real thing that happens. So what I saw looked really good. I liked what I saw. I definitely liked what I saw with Gears of War, E-Day, and some of the stuff they've talked about. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it overall. And, everybody wants them to get away from the glitches that we see in Unreal, and the issues. And it's iterative. We'll probably have another issue that pops up, or maybe because they know where RAM is going and we are in deep shit, maybe, some small optimizations have been made that help lower RAM, VRAM video cards, but that means smoother play for everybody, which is also possible. We just have no clue. I mean, I don't really have an issue with Unreal. I mean, I do in the sense that we know that there are some very specific issues, but I get more leery of Unity. Like when somebody tells me there's a Unity game, I'm always like, oh God, please.
Agreed.
Because I've just had some weird issues. How's the new Division update? I don't know, man. With the dog stuff and with everything else, it's just been really hectic. You wouldn't assume it's hectic from my lack of output. That next week that is changing. They're already uploaded and ready to go. But this week has been this last 2 weeks have been mostly not gaming. Mostly not gaming. Just handling life shit. Been tough. What else we got for news?
So this Xbox big reset business. So
Called it.
I mean, we did call it. Yeah, you did call it. It's wild, even seeing some titles announced in the show, like Hellblade, right? New Hellblade game. And then a few days later, we're seeing that the studio might be closed, or they might need to buy themselves and go independent, that type of thing. And not only them, but a number of studios there, like Double Fine, Compulsion Games, and then Ninja Theory, like I said, from Hellblade. So what do you make of that? I mean, is this them going purely AAA? Are they just focusing on bigger studios now, do you think? Or what is the angle for the big reset?
I think your easiest way to describe it is that the angle is that at some point, regardless, I saw somebody say triple Peabody award-winning Midnight game developer shut down. And I'm like, but the award doesn't pay the bills. At some point, and Microsoft has thrown a ton of money to the point to where some of these dev houses probably wouldn't even be going anymore without them having given them the time and money when the gaming industry was more invest heavy. But it is not invest heavy, and they're not the only ones doing it. Every company's doing it. They're doing the biggest change, but they're also the biggest company that does those biggest changes. And there's always the hope that you'll be like, I'm going to sponsor these 3 non-money making because I love creativity by selling these big ones over here. That'll still happen. It'll just happen at a smaller, I guess you would say, a smaller number. No one is going to make a haunted lighthouse walking around game, and you get Double Fine making that. I like that game a lot. I like all their games. However, your Remedies are having money problems. All these guys who sort of got away with, because that sounds like it was on purpose. It's not on purpose, but they did games that were good and they just didn't sell. Obsidian, sometimes you look at Obsidian and are like, dude, they just can't. They can't catch a break. But for whatever reason, some of these things that I think are really good are just not doing as well. Could be the competition, could be something else. Microsoft is the biggest company. So like Embracer, when you're a big company like that and you make those changes, you're usually making a change with more people, and that's a shitter. But I will say, you almost never, ever hear about negotiations like this. That is one thing to point out. You almost never, usually it's like closed. So to hear negotiations that's a positive, because that might mean negotiations to go out and get third-party licensing for a game that was originally an exclusive, which means more money. PlayStation, Nintendo, delay your game a little bit. I don't know what those will all entail. Yeah. But I will tell you this. No, it's no surprise. That's why I couldn't believe the first week that the new Xbox CEO was up. People are like, "Oh my God, this is turning around." I'm like, "No, you guys don't understand."
Full glaze on the
dude. It didn't even make sense. It's like, so you don't just grab one person and say, "We've decided to basically continue what hasn't worked with the person who's leaving," which is honestly bundle a ton of games that aren't doing incredibly well and their development processes, and hope that we're going to get a high enough attach rate on the big ones that we pay for those, and we continue to pay. And Satya said we have to make it an actual money-making business, and they do. They do. Especially now. It's even more important now. There is no investment money. And if anybody wants to, it's easy to be like, oh, Sony doesn't understand Bungie. Well, and we saw that a lot when we heard about the problems at Bungie. And then you have an ex-Bungie employee who comes out and is like, actually, we were very close to closing before Sony bought us. And I've never really blamed Sony for Bungie anyway, just because knowing the history. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I think that it's just not surprising. There's
I think the surprising thing is the way she was talking about it, because she emphasized so much that she was not using the 30% revenue thing, and that it was about, creating great games and stuff. I think the people assumed that meant, maintaining the studios they have or like supporting the games they have and stuff. And I think that's why this landed so badly, because it seems like she's backtracking on what she said, or maybe like at the very least it's a bit conflicting in some ways.
What did I say though? She did the interview with Jez Gordon, and I was on Twitter going, I don't know why you guys are freaking out. This is a person who's been there for like a week, and you're celebrating every good thing and you're worrying about every bad thing. This just hasn't happened where a CEO has come in and not changed anything. That's not how it works. Can you imagine? What a weird thing to do.
Literally, there's the saying that the day one, CEO comes in and day one they need to make some changes to kind of show that
brought in to make those changes.
They were brought in to make those changes.
Even if you applied, they'd be like, "What can you improve? Where are we at?" And I guess so. I just think nobody should listen to a CEO. Even I've known great CEOs. I've got to work with some amazing ones who truly do say what they have planned. But if the entire world is in flux like now, you do have to go, okay, some shit that if this had continued, we would have done it this way.
Yeah.
But they fucked up with like Satya and Bobby Kotick talking about Activision, and I know it's like, oh, it was all Phil Spencer, and it's like Satya and Bobby Kotick have both stated that Phil Spencer wasn't involved in the first couple discussions about Activision. It was them, and it was for mobile, which is fine, whatever. But I sort of wish they had just bought the mobile company. I guess maybe Activision didn't want to sell it, but I feel like Microsoft, their biggest problem is the Activision purchase. It's just you look at it, and yes, you got your mobile games that are bringing in money. You've got your Call of Duties, but now they've had to pull Call of Duty off. They lost the war to keep Call of Duty exclusive. All these kind of things. That's $76 billion. That if that had not been spent, all these development houses would have continued to go. And remember, prior to those purchases, Xbox was looking at buying other companies and giving them cash to make some of these unique games. So people can celebrate it if they want, but personally, to me, it's like terrible because that one purchase wasn't really needed, and we haven't seen the positives. We really haven't seen the positives at all of it. There's no positives. At least I haven't. I guess you would say Call of Duty Game Pass, that was a free get for people if they already had Game Pass. But what positives have we really seen out of it? And it was the same thing when they did it. I was just like, okay, fine. It makes sense for them, I guess. But what positives? Like, what fucking positives have we seen? None.
Yeah, that's right. I expected to see a bunch of Blizzard stuff on Game Pass, or
that's what we would want to see. But it's not.
That's what you want to see.
Blizzard stuff, other than Diablo, Blizzard stuff is notoriously PC. So, like, I mean, WoW could go, right? And if it were me and I was buying Activision, I would have been like, the first thing we want to do is figure out a way to get WoW onto a controller, or just allow keyboards on your Xbox, and which they do for some games, and just make it a system and get it running. But they didn't do it. And you should be able to do it with that game. And I think everybody's wondering why they haven't. I mean, they haven't taken advantage of that purchase. They have taken advantage of others. I think Outer Worlds 2 was great. And Avowed was good, and I actually think with the patch is much better. But dude, do you know what I honestly think some of this is? I think some of this is because there are some massive worries about the console launches, and some of it is preparing for console launch, which is billions of dollars of expense
for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Where you have to look and you have to be, or some of these negotiations, do you take, like Bungie was taken by Sony, some people, do you look at Microsoft and say, okay, we need to get, and I think you heard this rumor, but it's like, oh, Fallout and Elder Scrolls, she's trying to advance and get made faster?
Yep.
What do you, and I say she, but it's them all as a team,
as a whole,
what they can do. But do you do that? Do you put, more developers on? And then how do you manage that as a manager? Like, imagine being a manager of 10 people, which is doable. 20 people, that's a lot of admin at that point. 30 people, 40 people. And Todd Howard is the producer, and he's known for being hands-on. And it was an issue with Starfield, supposedly. So, Soulsby, sorry. $10 super chat. At work, just stop by to pay weekly dues. Long live ACG. Thank you very much, man. I absolutely appreciate it. It does help. But
thank you.
I will say, many of these, at least I can't say a ton. I think I've talked to 3 people working at companies at Microsoft in the last 2 days. And despite any things that might come out, many of them were not going to be making a game if they hadn't been bought. They would have been done already. So you're looking at that. It's a little bit like the Bungie thing. Bungie got bought by Sony, but people were already looking at it going, they're bleeding money and stuff like that. So you could say they got extra years of employment, but that's also years of loss. Maybe that person feels. It's hard to know, man, when you get laid off, like how you feel. Some people feel invigorated. Some people probably
like a fresh.
Dude, some people probably don't want to be bought by Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, regardless of any of the shit that this is never going to go away or we're going to run forever. EA's laying people off this week. And EA's got some of the biggest sellers you just told me. I think 2 of those games are EA games. So the thing is, it's not being egotistical. I don't think it's being egotistical when I do say stuff like called it, because I'm not trying to say called it. I'm happy I called it. I'm saying I'm sort of trying to give a signal of like, if you'd fucking listen to people who have been in those situations, you wouldn't get so wrapped up in thinking everything is perfect or what everybody says is what they're going to go on. And you got to read between the lines on some of this shit, man. You definitely got to
not attach yourself too tightly to any one particular thing a person may say, even if they are the top person, the CEO,
but they're in an interview with somebody. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? What if something happens?
And even if that's their
tomorrow?
idea today, like you're saying, the industry is changing so much that they might think that Helix is a great idea now, genuinely.
Exactly.
But
if
what is there to say, right? Like, you go to the store and now you need to pay $2,000 to get an SSD. That changes things. That might mean that actually they're going to go down the streaming route instead of,
there's all kinds of,
and we just don't know.
Happen.
Yeah.
Odd time. Moving on to some good shit though. Is closing studios really a change? No. Closing studios were not a change, and they weren't a change back in, and they were, percentage-wise, they were much larger because there wasn't as many developers. But like I said, I got to watch somebody who got purchased just to make sure their game wasn't on a competitor's console, and then they all got fired. And it's one of your primary one of your primary companies today is still, it's the same company. So it's just like, it not only has it always happened, but back then where it was harder to network and all that kind of stuff. I should ask him what he thinks of now versus then, because there's so many more people employed in the industry.
Yeah.
But because back then it was like Armageddon if your company went down. Like, it was like, oh my God. And that was Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast and PlayStation 3 and 4 when that was, really big. But it's been a tough ride. The last 2 years has just been fucking insanity, man.
Brutal.
Yeah. Xbox is now a capitalized Xbox. Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, those are signal boost. That's all they are. They're signal boost. And we all signal boost. If you have a product, you signal boost. Xbox with the green new startup logo, Xbox with capitalized Xbox. It's just a signal boost. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's not everything. Quit treating it like it's everything. That's the big thing. What else we got? Oh, I want to ask you a question. So got some questions. This is awesome. I loved this one. I had to grab it. It's from Billie Jean is my lover. Which NPC in gaming deserves a raise more than anybody else? I'm talking about that guy who's been standing at the shop counter for 15 years watching us save the world.
Wow.
So I was thinking about this, and I was like,
dude, I have the perfect.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah,
go for it. If you got one, 1 second, I got to let the pup out. But, sorry,
okay,
continue talking. I'm listening.
I'll tell you mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you may not know this, because I'm not sure if you've ever played Final Fantasy X, but in that game, there was this one vendor. I think it was called Waka the Third. And this fucking guy was in every scenery you would go to. And he was basically going alongside you, kind of. So he would always just be there before you arrived. And he would be there selling you the newest stuff in every subsequent area. And he basically was like, he carried the the team in the journey, like by selling different equipment and stuff, always better equipment you could get through him and stuff like that. And it started off as you would give him some seed money for his operation, and then it would kind of pay back in the longer run for you. But that guy, he literally was everywhere, and in some ways carried the whole party throughout the whole journey. It was very cool. I'd be curious if chat has any other good NPCs that have maybe carried a protagonist through a game.
The GTA station clerk, a very high risk job. Yeah. Anybody who teleports around and like follows the main party around, that's a hard worker. I was trying to, because I was thinking about Ubisoft games. You got the people bricklayers, and they're just laying brick in the sun the entire time you're playing Odyssey. Just day in, day out. You're just always like, psh, psh. Oh, somebody said any of the pawns from Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, being a slave, bought and sold, and you don't control your own looks, that's probably the best answer. Yeah. I love that question, though. Another was, what's the longest you've spent exploring in a game before realizing you hadn't actually done a single thing that the game intended you to do? So we'll say after the first tutorial area, like, what game did you spend the longest doing shit before you hit that mission story? Where you get the title block. Like, so what game do you think you went the longest? I can tell you mine. I can go with mine.
Yeah.
It is for sure, without any shadow of a doubt, Fallout 3. But it doesn't even...
Fallout 3?
Fallout 3.
Or 4?
Yeah. 3.
Okay.
3. Walking outside, and I've joked about it, I thought it was Brown Simulator, wasn't impressed with what I was playing. I finally got out, started walking around. I turned to the left, and I don't think I knew there was a city for weeks of game time. I just didn't even look. I didn't even know there was a city. I just explored the wasteland. I was battling out in buildings and grabbing every single thing, and I just happened to miss everything for the longest period of time, because once that game bit into me, I was like, oh my God. Like, I mean, like I joke, it crashed a lot, and I remember my wife just being like, can you play a different game, please? Because it was just like, I don't want to set the world. So I would say Fallout 3. And Fallout 4, probably a little less, because I enjoyed Fallout 4 and a lot. And I think I followed that story more because I knew I hadn't in 3. And in 3, I'd meandered around, and I'd done so much shit and messed around. Flynn says GTA 3. Here's the weird thing about GTAs. I do stick to the story a lot because their stories are actually interesting to me. Even Nico's, which is a little dark, and maybe I didn't love it as much. Dude, and their cutscenes are good, and they have good voice actors. Yep. And what was the L.A. Noire is another one of theirs. Bully, all of their games, and GTA San Andreas. I end up not
good
doing
pacing.
That.
You want to see what's next.
Yeah. And I usually go midway before I start really, because I usually am assuming I'm not going to have the best vehicle for a little while, or maybe I'm going to get another place to call if I need help or whatever. So I go through a bit of that story, and then I'm like, all right, now I can So weirdly enough, I'm the opposite of that. Same thing with Red Dead 1 and 2. I mean, I was enamored, but I followed the story for a while to sort of understand what the world wanted. And then I was like, okay, this is incredible. And then there's got to be a hint in there of me doing it on purpose because I didn't want to finish it because I did like it. Because I will get that way where I'll be like, I feel like I'm at 3/4
Let me go
of the way.
fish a few times before.
Yeah. Or maybe you worry a character. It's definitely happened where I worried a character was going to die. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this next cutscene because, you know, I sort of like this bad guy we're going to possibly face or, you know, those kind of idiosyncrasies. So, yeah, for sure.
You know, for me, definitely Fallout 4 was a big one. I completely forgot about like saving my son or whatever the plot was for a long time. But I still think Witcher 3, probably the biggest one, because for such a long time, I stopped doing the main quest for maybe 30, 40 hours. I would just be going around doing the side quests, looking for people to play Gwent, get new cards. And like, I know this is urgent, but let me just play a few more games of Gwent. You know, my deck is not fully fleshed out yet. A lot of that stuff I really enjoyed.
Funny though, it's always those style of games.
Yeah.
There's always been that one mountain, tower, building, or weird landmark you see in the distance and immediately say, I want to reach it. What's the strongest I need to know what's over there moment you've ever had in a game?
Ooh.
I'll tell you mine. Because I actually have answers for these. Skyrim, there is the city Solitude. It's on the rocks. And I had played Skyrim for ages and didn't know it was there. And I saw it on the pinnacle of the edge of the rocks, and my brain, it was like discovering. I mean, I was like, is this a mod? Did I fuck up? Like, and something got added, and I don't even think I was doing mods at the time, but I was like, I just couldn't figure out how I'd missed that entire thing. That was an absolute pleasure. And I would say most of the time it's a city. Most of mine are like when I see a city in the far off distance that looks huge and looks like action-packed and looks like it, especially if you see debris. One of the things about Crimson Desert that was great is they did have a lot of debris and a lot of stuff outside the city. So you just were like, holy shit, what's going on at this city? I want to go watch to see if a merchant, you know, does this or does that in it. And seeing a massive, if I can climb, seeing a massive mountain might be the next. I'm going to let him in. It'll be much faster this time. I had to watch him, make sure they didn't, you know, get rough with it.
Yeah, no worries.
But anyway, what's yours?
I think for me, go on a little bit of a side diatribe there. Dark Souls 1 was really impressive in that way because when you start off in that undead parish, you can kind of look around and you have so many different places you can go to. And you see like maybe a castle in the distance you can go to, that type of stuff. And that was really impactful for me to be able to choose where I would go in that way. And then the experience of when you get there, it's a fully fleshed out place, you know, to explore. And as it was basically one big kind of open world, but it was set up in this almost hub way. Everything kind of circled back to that initial Undead Parish thing. I think it was called Undead Parish, that initial place. And everything kind of flowed from there. You still had to walk everywhere, right? You couldn't like fast travel until later. But the way it was constructed was really cool. And that feeling of seeing these places far away and then getting there eventually and seeing this fleshed out castle or something like that. That was probably the first time something hit me like that. And they've done it a few times in other games, but that I remember that as the big first one.
It's funny to me too. Regardless how people think of them, I would say the most I get in any one game, the game series that's probably going to get me to feel this way is notoriously Assassin's Creed. They just,
yeah.
I mean, I'll see in Valhalla, I'd be riding around, I'd see this like group, and I knew there'd be a bit of environmental storytelling everywhere, and I would be like, all right, I want to ride down to that. Odyssey, you obviously have this location, and I'm not a big fan of that location at all. I'm not a fan of that part of the world at all, as in it doesn't interest me. And yet every time you'd come over a hill, you'd see this, hamlet. You knew somebody there. There's just, there's something so meaty about it.
Yeah.
Those games in particular. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the pyramids in Origins as well.
Yeah. Pyramids in Origins.
They're incredible.
Except the pyramids in all these games, dude, they always feel, I would say Indiana Jones was probably the one time where I saw a pyramid and was like, this is nice. It feels like a real thing. I mean, yeah, I guess the pyramids, it's been a while since I played Origins.
Yeah, I think back in the day was really impressive for Origins.
Next up, here's a good question. Roll Bader says, maybe this is a weird question, but has any game ever been asked to carry an entire industry the way GTA 6 is right now? Feels like publishers, players, investors, content creators, everybody is kind of waiting for this one thing. If it launches and is merely excellent instead of revolutionary, what do you think the reaction is going to be? It's a very good question, because performance to me is, if the performance is good, then I'm pretty comfortable with saying, like, they're going to do some stuff that you never expect, and it could be sort of between GTA 4, GTA 5, and like, maybe Vice City or San Andreas, where you get this mix and it does all this new stuff. But I do feel that some people are probably blowing this out of proportion, assuming you're not going to see repetitiveness in particular things and stuff you saw in 5, because 5 was really ahead of its time when you think about it. 3 protagonists, you could switch out at any time. There's some crazy shit. But it does feel like, yes, we're getting a story about 2 characters, but that the world is also maybe even more of a story here than GTA 5. And I do think that is what interests me more, is where this is and just all the different things you might be able to go and explore and do. But yeah, no game ever. No game ever has been asked to, or had this much, what would you call it, pressure put on it?
Pressure, yeah. On that side, I agree. But I think if GTA 6 didn't exist, it wasn't going to happen, the industry would still go on. It's not like the industry hinges on it. Even if you talk about the console market and stuff, it might not grow, right? But right. I don't view it as collapsing if this is not a hit.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I don't think it hinges on it. But I agree with you that the expectations are almost impossibly high. It's very difficult, for sure, to execute on that.
Yeah. Good question, though. Oh, I like this one. Am I the target audience for handheld games now? Because 10 years ago, my dream was I wanted the biggest TV possible. Now, my dream setup is playing for 45 minutes on the couch before falling asleep. Now, I don't think that's... I think that's just sheer being able to do it. I mean, Game Boy Advance obviously was a thing, but we never had quote-unquote parallel ports where the same game was on multiple was on a handheld and on the PC, or handheld and on your console. Now we do. Now we can stream to a handheld, which changes the game too. Like the ability to stream to a handheld is awesome. Like, especially if it's a good handheld, not the Portal. So, dude, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a dream. I think it is a space of time that was just impossible without them. It was just, and wouldn't be as enticing. Now it's possible to play for 45 minutes of Red Dead and have a good time, and turn it off. And it just wasn't possible before. The technology wasn't there, and now we're there.
Do you think as well we've gravitated towards like the small screen, whether it's the phone, so like a really good smaller screen that you have like close to you, as opposed to a bigger screen like the TV but further away? There's something compelling about that, like, sharp, small but really sharp screen close to you. Do you feel that, like, when you play on your portable or like streaming and stuff, I do think there's something really nice about having it right there.
Well, your FOV is tighter
in front of you.
I mean, because it's closer, so it's like, where a TV might be this. When I'm playing the thing, it's probably
it's right
wider and it's right there, and so the world gets blurred out. Peripheral vision on a TV, even on a big one, is still active. I mean, you can still see all that shit, different toys and stuff you have, a Discord. You can't really, or don't really, want to open up a Discord on the same handheld. I've streamed from my Legion multiple times. You can do it. But then the Discord, might come up and you got less buttons unless you have like a wireless keyboard next to you, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely can contain you more. It can be harder to see, though. I played a couple shooting games where I'm like, I do fine on the controller with this. Why am I having such a hard time in this game? And it was most likely because nobody had thought of a HUD that is really handheld dynamic. That's like, this is a bright indicator of where you're going to fire, or these enemies have a particular way of looking to where you can glean where they are. The only game I can say there was no difference was Division. I mean, the amount of hours I put into Division on the Legion is insane. And Division 1 and on hardcore with all of the options on to make it insane, and still did a good job and still had a great time. But yeah, I think, but I like bigger
that can be tough.
Too. I like
or small menus.
Small menus
UI
can be
and
tough. Yeah. I think the big thing is I don't think 7 or 8 inches is where I want to be with a game screen.
That's what
I do think 10 is probably where I can see the most and it feels comfortable to me, and yet I don't think the form factor fits for most people. So I've sort of come to that conclusion. I know that I buy the bigger handhelds with the bigger screens, and I like that. So I'm definitely not some people buy these micro handhelds. I'm not a fan. That's definitely not for me. Let's see. What else do we got for news?
Let's see. That's all I had on my side. Did you have anything cool you saw on gaming news on Reddit or anywhere else?
Yeah, I did. Naughty Dog's job listing suggests intergalactic development is somewhat nearing completion. I don't know how realistic that is, though. I don't know when that I don't even remember if they've set a date on that. Ooh, that dog's barking. I might have to go grab him. There is Gothic. I do want to talk about that. A lot of people are playing the Gothic remake and seem to be genuinely incredibly happy with that.
Yep.
There's some tech issues for sure, at least from what I'm hearing. This is secondhand. But the people that have been playing it seem to really absolutely be loving that game. So that's cool. More remakes of those, I'd be all for. They're old enough that makes sense. It's okay, bud. They're just barking. I would love to see,
Yeah. It looks great.
2, Gothic 3. Yeah, it does. It looks really good for dude, we're getting to the point to where a remake, maybe boy, he's barking. Maybe the time frame for the old remakes, maybe we'll have to look back and go, some of these guys maybe tried their best, but the hardware wasn't there, and now the hardware is there, and we're starting to see, we're seeing Black Flag and going, oh, damn. Because remember, Ubisoft is an offender of fairly, phone-it-in remakes, or remasters, we'll say. And yet, when you look at Black Flag, if it turns out to be good, which I hope it does, that is spectacular looking. So,
yeah.
The side-by-sides.
I think that's going to be one of the biggest hits this year.
I do too. I do too. I would say so. There's just some hedging.
What's making you hesitate?
Well, because
what
sometimes
do you think?
I'll see people just really saying stuff about Ubisoft that they don't say about any other company, that complaints about stuff where I'm like, dude, seriously? Like, your favorite game is blank, which it does it repetitively. Why don't you just point out that you just don't like the company, man? Like, it would be much easier for me, if more people were just blatantly sort of open about that kind of thing. I mean, we saw it with Forza spectacularly, where some of the same journalists, creators, developers I know were like, Forza Horizon is not good, blah, blah, blah. It gets announced for PlayStation. Suddenly, it's the next, thing since garlic bread. And you're like, seriously, dude, this entire time, pretty much everybody knew you were doing it already. But come on, man. It's just sour grapes. It'd be so much better if things were judged on what they are versus what anything else. And I feel like Black Flag doesn't feel like that's going to happen. But every time I've felt this way, it's still happened. I'm just hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping if it's good, it gets the exact whatever. But remember, Black Flag has the map mess of every Ubisoft game. Witcher 3 had map mess. Saints Row had map mess. Many of the games I've loved, many games people claim are the best games ever, have a shit ton of map mess and genericness to them. It'll be interesting to see if that's brought up or if the changes and all that kind of thing, maybe people want to revisit these old ones versus a new one. Yeah,
Ubisoft catches a lot of crap for stuff that other companies get away with all the time.
Yeah, it's weird.
We saw that with Shadows, comparisons with other similar games and stuff.
Shadows was really
like weird. A ton of stuff. But what I observe time after time with AC games is that despite all the Ubisoft hate, they do incredibly well.
Yeah.
And the revealed preference of people is that they like those games. They buy those games. They buy extra content. They buy into the game. They spend a ton of time in it. And I think with this one, not only is it an Assassin's Creed game, but it's a really beloved one, right? People kind of have this in their nostalgia bucket. And even people who haven't played it, I think they have a feeling of FOMO, like, oh, damn, maybe I wasn't a gamer at that time, or I missed this one. I never got into it. There is a feeling of excitement there that I notice when people are talking about this, both for people who played it back in the day and those who didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's odd to me. You were talking about like people hate and stuff. It's really odd. Somebody will be like, well, I hate Far Cry. And you'll be like, why? And they'll be like, because Ubisoft had an issue with the manager who worked on that game. And I'll be like, dude,
non-game stuff.
Non-games, yeah. Now I get that. I get not liking a company or whatever, but it never translates that. It starts translating to the games themselves. And you get this weird dichotomy that just pops up. Or somebody will say, I hate this game. And you'll be like, why? Well, they release one every 2 years. And you're like, that's not the same thing as hating something. Like, it's just very odd, and in particular, it's around them. But we see the same with Sony. We see the same with Microsoft. We see the same with Nintendo, where they are all judged differently. It's not a beauty contest in the way that they all are judged in one specific set of criteria. They're not. They are not. In fact, weirdly enough, it feels like all these console or all the main developers are judged on the prior year's winner. And that means you never quite know exactly what success even looks like. I saw that in particular with the Xbox 360, where for a little amount of time, the Xbox 360 was outselling the PlayStation. And you just literally could not get people to budge about that it was doing. You would have these weird explanations of why. Oh, it's because all of them are gone. People show a photo of a PlayStation or a bunch of PlayStations in a Best Buy. Oh, no, those are just empty boxes. Just these conspiracy theories that wrap around it. And especially for companies like this, yeah, they are. They're all judged. There is no competition against one another. It's more insular than it actually looks like it is. It looks like it's more like there's three competitors, but a lot of these guys compete against themselves prior year. And you sort of see that come out. And by the way, I should point out, I do that. Like I don't rate a company ever, but I mean, when I see like a bunch of a particular game come out in 1 year, I'm like, the next year or two is going to be rough because all those developers, you know, spat out their whatever effort they had. And that means like 2027 is going to be rough because we're not going to get any from them. But I mean, in a larger topic, sort of subject matter way. It's a very weird situation, but I mean, I still enjoy and I'll still hate a game. I mean, I hated Unity, and Assassin's Creed 3 was definitely not my favorite, and I got some heat for that. But back to remakes, if Black Flag does good, great, but I would much rather see a Far Cry 1. I would kill if Far Cry 1 got a remake. I love. You the like location.
That one specifically?
Yeah. I would love to see it. People, oh, yeah. Got what's going on with YouTubers trying to get us to hate Fender guitars because they're miffed at the CEO.
Yeah, there was some controversy.
Was there?
But they're basically going after other companies using the same Stratocaster shape.
Uh-huh.
So, for a long time now, other companies have been using similar shapes. PRS recently had a big one released. And for a long time, companies have kind of cross-pollinated, and used similar shapes that other companies have used pretty much unapologetically and putting their own sort of spin to those.
Mm-hmm.
But very much so heavily inspired to the point where you would, call a spade a spade. You would say that is a Stratocaster style guitar, that type of thing. And now Fender is trying to kind of be more strict about that and get not people. They don't want to get people to like destroy inventory or anything radical like that. But going forward, they want there to be more of like an attribution, I guess. So yeah, there's some like battles coming from Fender, but it was taken very badly by the community, basically.
Because copying is so normal, or they were against the copying?
I guess because the community views it as them trying to really stymie other companies from being able to work with that design and make their own thing, and them wanting to hold on to that profit, right? To being the sole creators of that design.
I mean, in all honesty, every time I look at a guitar, there's a very specific set of parameters you're always going to have. And so you have a very small subset of parameters you can change the form of. And then that also affects the sound and all that kind of stuff. And so, it wouldn't surprise me if they all looked somewhat alike. I mean, drum sets look alike. It's like, that's okay. Pianos look alike because they're a musical instrument, and usually there's a very specific set of, particular physics guidelines that you have to follow to get a sound that is transferable. But you see people doing crazy stuff. You see double necks back in the day, triple neck. A Cheap Trick had triple neck guitar.
Yeah.
Crazy. But
I think the big thing there, right, as a consumer, you would want companies to be able to explore and iterate on those same designs, take a known shape and work their own magic on it, and then have that kind of work through the free market, and the really good ones will pop to the surface. That's what you want as a consumer. Maybe the opposite, as a manufacturer, you might want the opposite. You might want to lock it down so you have like a guarantee that you will always be the sole kind of provider of that type of guitar.
Well, if that were true, then what I would do, if Fender's the one doing this, if I were Fender, I would go the anti-moral way, the completely shitball way, and I would create a line of every single possible shape that I could and be like, they're all our shapes.
They're all ours. Yeah.
Because you could be like, that's too close. It's like, I mean, you could there are only a couple really overall shapes that you see in the guitar world. And then you see alterations, you see movement and adjustments also to be comfortable to play for a long period of time, all that kind of stuff. That's how you become a shithead, is you just be like, I'm only going to make one, but I'm going to call it the signature, the Johnny Plays Live signature guitar line. It'll be one, but from that point on, I can call it and just be like, no, that's ours too. But I mean, anything with a physics-based requirement almost always looks the same. Guns, look at how many guns there are. Now, if you really look at it, it's like most of them are built, or if you ignore the furniture, which is your scopes and all the other stuff, and you look at just the gun shape itself, most of them look identical. And if they're switched up, they take a great deal of time for people to actually come to grips with that new shape, that new feel. That sometimes things just work. Worry more about the guitarist and if they're good, I think.
Yeah.
Than worry about the shape of the guitar. But
no, I agree with you.
That's weird. Yeah.
Speaking of firearm, though,
you
didn't expect that segue, but I saw a crazy news post in TechSpot. I don't know if you saw this. They were saying that, I think this is real, by the way. I was trying to fact check this, but I saw this in TechSpot. They were saying that there was basically a neighbor's dog that accidentally discharged a firearm, okay? And the bullet shot in the direction of a person sitting at their PC, and the PC physically was in the way, and the memory, the RAM module blocked and like deviated the bullet.
So it didn't hit him?
So it didn't hit the person. And there's literally like a picture of the RAM stick, like took a bullet for this person, you know?
Now it's worth the money.
Really, now it's worth the money. I just thought it was a really incredible thing. You would never see this. This is like
yeah. I mean, dude,
an animation show
cases
skit.
Are thin and everything, but bullets, unless it's like a 50 cal, bullets will stop on a couple stuff. You know, it doesn't take a ton of stuff. And if it's bouncing around, it's less. So, and for dogs or cats, I have seen a cat set off a gun that was notorious for being set off on its own with a hard bump. That was a known thing with that firearm. So, I mean, you know, it is possible. I mean, dude, people dropped guns. I've watched them go off. It really does. There's a couple things that can set a gun off. You definitely, you know, there's a reason why you treat every gun as loaded, because even if it isn't, you never know what's, you know, chambered up in there.
That's a good
somebody makes
heuristic.
A mistake. Dude, you always should. You always. It's so weird. I mean, there used to people go a little too far sometimes and be like, you shouldn't have one in the chamber. That might be a different thought process. But
isn't that what happened with Baldwin, the actor, where
Baldwin's was
he didn't think it was loaded, right?
He didn't, or didn't think he was handed real bullets, and it shot the blank wad out and killed him. But that might be me mistaking Brandon Lee dying from the same thing. So basically, to make an explosion, you have to have force. And blanks still fire with a great deal of force. That's why they sound really loud. You can't, you know, just like a firecracker. Firecracker's not bad, but if you put it in your hands and you contain it, your wife's gonna be opening jars for you for a while. And so that kind of stuff has happened. I mean, Brandon Lee's was definitely, and I think I remember hearing that's the stuntman who shot him. Like,
that was the guy from The Crow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because nobody, dude, that is just, and we all, you know, I understand civil lawsuits. I do. I understand civil lawsuits. Totally understand a situation like that. And in that instance, definitely real problems happened. But trying to say he should have known was ridiculous. That was pure insanity, man. Like, that is just, at that point, if we want to say that, then every person who uses a blank even one time in a show or a movie or whatever is going to have to go through full gun training. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But I don't think you can blame him for that. Yeah, that was safety and gun safety, gun coordinators.
Yeah, the whole procedure there.
Yeah, it's very sad that anything like that happens, because I mean, I'm sure they have medical staff always on scene for those kind of things, but many times you're not thinking of a bullet wound. You're thinking of broken legs, broken, and there are different
you're
things
probably not ready for
and then
that.
Sitting there going, well, I think they said with Brandon Lee, they didn't know he was shot for a little bit of time, where they were just thought maybe he had fallen hard or something. There was a stunt coordinator, I believe, who was might have been a behind the scenes on that or expose on Bruce Lee, and they talked about Brandon Lee. But I think somebody said that, like, when he fell back, they didn't know right away, whether that was real or not. So because it's not like the movies, like the ricochet or the kick you see is the same kick the person sees when they get hit by it. That's why you'll have stories about people taking multiple M4 shots and they just run through it, because obviously if a person was firing and would throw them back 10 feet, it would throw the person who fires back 10 feet. Not necessarily the way it works. What else do we got?
We got some questions if you want to go through
absolutely
a few of those.
Kel says, in Baldwin's place, the armor hadn't kept the guns properly secured, and some of the crew used them for target practice on a lunch break. So there's two problems I have with that. One, dude, no sign outs of the guns, no indicator that they use them for target practice. Somebody's, definitely, that's 100% guilt. But the other, that those guns were available and real. Like, because I've always believed that there isn't a reason to have a real gun on any movie ever. It's just not, you don't need it. There's ways to do the effects and stuff like that.
Because you do it all in post, right?
Dude, or you do squibs and stuff. Like, to me, that's ridiculous that you could even you should even worry about it. That barrel should be plugged to the point to where, like, nothing can come through it other than a 50 cal if you're using blanks, and you just don't worry about it. But anyway, what were you reading questions-wise? Thanks, Kel.
This one from Pillowcase. What games are you most excited for the rest of this summer? Okay, summer. Let me pull up the release schedule.
Black Flag's definitely on there. When is Resonant? When is Control Resonant? I mean, I'm interested. I'm not like chomping at the bit, but
yeah, Resonant is in September.
Okay, I guess
like
not.
Everything.
September's.
What do you think about that Marvel Tokon fighting game?
I don't know. I'm sort of interested in it, sort of not.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked good.
I know we're forgetting some because it is super busy, but I'm sure.
I mean, Black Flag, right?
Yeah,
so Black Flag in July. That's probably up there for me.
I think July's got 2 or 3 games. I'm not going to look it up because I think one of those is a small game. They're not a big one, but
yeah,
a lot of medium like sized games I'm interested in.
What about Dead or Alive 6? I think you were a fan, maybe, of those games.
And the way it's just being reform factored into a different package, so I'm not like super chomping at the bit for it.
There is, Pal World, the 1.0 version that I'm excited for in July. I think I will actually play that and check it out.
Which one?
After all the changes. Pal World, the one where you were basically like capturing Pokemon, but they changed it a little bit so it's not bang on the same thing.
Yeah. Star Wars Zero Company, thank you. That one, very.
When is that actually? Let me look it up. Star Wars.
Really looking forward to
that's October.
Seasons? I don't know what that is. That's when?
It's October.
Yeah, I think
so
July,
a bit later.
August is a little. I mean, it's a little
pretty lean.
Yeah. It's leaner. I mean, not necessarily in a bad way, but you can definitely tell it's filled up there in the fall. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Actually, October is also very packed. It's not only September.
Yep.
because we have in the space of a few days Ace Combat 8, Gears of War E-Day, and then Star Wars Galactic Racer.
Oh, that pod racer game? Yeah. Well, I call it pod racer, but there's more than pods in it. Yeah, there are. It's gonna be a good fall, man. It's gonna be so busy that busy just doesn't even make sense. I mean, I'm excited for the fall. What else do we got?
Let's see. This one from Spock the Vulcan. What has made modern AAA game development blowed up in terms of both cost and cycle time? Is it just graphics? If that's the case, I would gladly go back to early mid-2010s level of graphics. Back then, games still looked good, were reasonably well optimized, and took 2 to 3 years to make. Most games don't need perfect motion captured cutscenes, especially if you have a decent story and engaging gameplay. But there's probably more to it than that. For one thing, because of crazy inflation, dev salaries would have gone up. That still doesn't explain the 5 to 7 year dev cycles we see now. What other factors contribute to this, do you think? A silver lining to the long dev cycles is we have some time to clear our backlogs now.
Dev cycles,
yeah, it's rough.
It's a good question, but let me point out a couple things. What we talked about earlier, Ubisoft had some pretty fast dev cycles because they were using offsetting devs for Assassin's Creed. And what was one of the major complaints? I don't want an Assassin's Creed every year. Yakuza, many times they have a game every year. Yakuza uses a great deal of reused assets and reused engine parts. So we do see some that turn around games pretty fast. Bigger companies turn around games faster with larger development groups and sharing of assets or sharing of development, hardware, that kind of stuff. And then smaller ones by reuse. They both reuse, but I think like Yakuza in particular, you look at it and you're like, it's a very particular way of doing things. I think a Western developer would be castrated socially if they reused as much as Yakuza does. And I really do. I just do. I think that's
they get
okay.
away with some shit.
Yeah, they get, like it's just the way it is. I mean, we can pretend it's not, but if you had some of the storylines that are in Yakuza westernized, you'd have people up in arms. But they're like, oh, that's shucky darns. That's just Japanese devs. So it's like, okay, I'm personally of the opinion if we say shucky darns, then everybody should be able to do it. But whatever, that's beside the point. But longer development process. So I think there is a very high chance that the consoles going to PC x64 kind of processors offers compatibility for sure, but you just became competitive with PCs in a way that you can't get out of. Other than you could say when you look at a PC or a console has a compression block and video cards don't, PCs don't. So for the longest period of time, that was one of your bonuses. But if you look prior to that, you look at custom silicon, they were able to do things that were pretty crazy, pretty insane, actually. And they were able to get a game out and sort of solidify on one device and say, this is one device. This is our PlayStation game. We know exactly what this can do. Now we have a merging of generations where people were holding on to the PS4 3 years into the PS5's lifespan, where it was still 51% of people were playing on a PS4. That kind of stuff all comes into it. So do dev salaries for blowing up the cost of games. So do everybody's salaries who works at a company. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But when we're talking about dev cycles themselves, there's that. There's also the competition just amongst game companies as we continue to rate games versus the game the year prior and the year prior and the year prior. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a developer, and whether it's consulting, like one that we were consulting with, and I'm like, hey, why are you putting this in your game? It's a very unique idea for your game, but it's very normal in other games. And they were like, yeah, that's exactly it. It was in another game, and we realized that most game players would start to ask why it wasn't in ours. And I was like, gotcha. By the way, look no further. Luckily, this didn't catch on a great deal, but look no further than, definitely in the 360 era, some, and then Xbox One, there were a couple, but there was the idea that almost every game was going to have an editor in it. There was a big push for like your Armas, those kind of things, where you'd have an editor in there. Mind's Eye was going to do it, where they were going to put the full editor. There's going to be all that kind of stuff. Sinking City 1 was supposed to have the full editor for the city. All these kind of things. Those were hot, and then they went away real quick. But they were hot for a while. And that's just a pattern. But game development, I just don't think people realize that, like, things take longer now. They just do for games. Yep. A game was a 2D game that was a side-scroller that, not to be rude, they didn't have half of the systems that we have now. Some of the systems we have in games are insane, and you have to run them on, what is there? I think the one company does 15,000 platform combinations when you consider RAM, motherboard, for certification, RAM, motherboard, hard drive, NVMe, all kinds of stuff. You have to verify what it works and how it works. The rest of it, because I also think that back in the day, there would be one game being worked on. Feel like right now we have these developers or publishers that have a lot of companies working underneath them, and they give the developer a little bit more time. I'm not saying that they're not in crunch mode, because they are. I'm just saying that if a company's got 7 games coming, you wouldn't also want to release 2 or 3 games in a small period of time. The only company that's done that, and we've seen utter failure from them when they did it, was Ubisoft, where they did Valhalla, Watch Dogs, and Phoenix Rising. Phoenix, right? In a fucking tight time frame. And you look at them and you're like, those are a lot alike. At least Phoenix Rising and Assassin's Creed were a lot alike. And you're like, yeah, I could see that, sort of eaten into your purchase. And then now you have to worry about other companies. Yeah. So game development.
Yeah, the sizes. The sizes of some of these teams have grown a lot. And maybe that is a problem, that like the work itself hasn't scaled well with the number of people. So we've needed a lot more people for maybe a similar work, just more detail or that type of thing. But I think that's the nature of competition too, right? If you have one person doing a massive production like that, and if you want to compete in that AAA space, then maybe now that means you also need a comparatively big team.
Yeah. Also, I should point out that this person who's saying this, I'm not saying they're wrong, but not everybody's going to agree with their take. I certainly don't agree with their take on this is all that matters. So a company cannot just assume Carrick is the only one that matters. That'd be ridiculous, right? And it's one of the reasons why I'm so against a YouTube influencer being like a developer and a YouTube, because I'm just like, dude, I don't want that guy. Like, that just seems fucking weird, It's just not for me. But regardless of that kind of stuff happening, not everybody's going to be for everything. And you either do a game that's real niche and you're like, this is just for people who like this, or people who may like it, or you do a game that's a little bit more broad, which takes twice as long. I mean, it feels like.
Yeah.
And dude, Rockstar's definitely a competitor for a game that has nothing to do with Rockstar gameplay styles. If there's a horse in a game, since Red Dead 1, they were going to be compared to a Red Dead horse. Do you see what I'm saying? Every cutscene, you'll have people be like, oh my God, dude, I just saw that recently. Somebody was showing a cutscene. They're like, look at this cutscene from Red Dead 2. And it was 8 years ago or whatever. And look at this cutscene. And I went and looked at the budget of the game. It was $50 million and like $500 million. And I'm like, yeah, add a zero.
There you go.
Come on, man. Like, yeah. But again, who really cares? Game players shouldn't really care about that too much. He is, because he's asking. But
yeah,
I don't really think a game player needs to worry about what a game cost or how many worked on it, because number one, it's never true. The shadow companies is what they're called. I'm doing a video on this, and I did a bunch of research. It took a long time, but there's a couple companies out there that have been doing games for 15, 18 years, and their name is not on a single game because they don't want to be
like on it's not on the credits.
Nope. I found one in particular that it was really fun to like talk to a developer or two who had worked with them and been like, how does like this shadow developer become a thing? And it's pretty unique, but it does over time become sort of a thing. And they are like, it works great not having them connected. And we're talking the game, like, or most of it. I mean, a large amount of the game. And just be like, it's like a shadow writer, I guess, for a novel when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that for a company like some of these big AAA studios or maybe Sony, do they prefer to have a game that takes like 7 years to make, but is a really big hit? You know, maybe like a God of War game, something like that. Or 2 solid games that take half the time, so they could make, 2 of them in 3 years, let's say. Is it just like exponentially better to have the bigger one?
No, because you don't know what the world is going to do in the 3 years you're waiting for, or 7 years you're waiting for the big one. I would assume most would rather have a game year over year, every other year, do really well, but not, and keep the lights on. Maybe in the past there was an idea of that, but I don't think we're in that. I think there was so much money flowing into games, and now it's absolutely not. It's just not. I mean, luckily, sales, we're doing, gamers are buying, but I'm talking about investment money. Just right now, it's in AI, it's in world economics, it's in crypto a little bit. No, I wouldn't say a little bit. It's in crypto because there's still everybody hoping for that one crypto. But it's just not in games right now, and it won't be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the reality
Yeah.
Where we're
what
at.
else do we got?
This one from Sully. He says, what game and what location was your first ever gaming kiosk experience? Mine was Golden Axe and Virtual Fighter on Sega at a Toys R Us.
Mine was also Sega, and it was Space Harrier. Did you ever play it? Did you ever even see a kiosk, or were they gone already? Or
I don't know if we had like a how do you pronounce it? Kiosk?
Oh, kiosk.
Kiosk?
It depends on where you're from. Yeah.
Okay.
But pronounce it anyway.
Yeah, we didn't have like that specifically. What we had was like basically a mall where you would go to and you would have your kind of arcade spot with arcade machines, and you would have your Street Fighters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those were kind of the games that I played at that time.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty rare pretty quickly. I don't think I ever saw one for, like, at least in my stores, Sega Genesis or anything, but Sega Master System was amazing. It was a giant black, sleek-looking box, and it had 4 buttons, 4 buttons, 4 buttons, 4 buttons, so 16 games. Yeah. And you would push a game, and you were able to play a small demo of whatever game. So Space Harrier, Alex Kidd, and Miracle World, probably Afterburner. And you would be able to play like a very small amount of time, and I spent ages
oh yeah
on that game. Yeah,
dude, the ones that I played were clearly designed for you to put quarters in.
Oh yeah,
like Marvel versus Capcom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There were, I mean, quarter munchers. Dragon's Lair is one of the most prestigious quarter munchers in the world. It had super tight timing, and because it was a Laserdisc game, it looked amazing. And people were just blown away. And that thing was like $1.50 in the 90s, or whenever it came out. It was ridiculous. And you would just feed it because you were like, I'm playing a cartoon. I mean, that was a renaissance, man, because when that came out, then you started seeing that get put on. So once Sega CD released, once you started seeing CD-based games, people were Sewer Shark, Time Gal, Cobra Command, probably about 30 or 40 FMV games came out where they would have you be playing inside. And I mean, look at Myst. Myst is basically an FOV game.
Yeah.
And that exploded. You know, if you could get it to feel somewhat interactive and have real looking people doing whatever. There was the other one that was the Western one from Sega that was a hologram game. And that was pretty crazy. You played it over a hologram machine, and basically it would float a guy, and you were doing quick draw against him. And it was awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome for its time. It looked like, you know, it's just an FMV guy responding to what you're doing, but it was like the Star Wars table of chess figurines, but being creatures. And it was like,
I mean, at the time, right?
Yeah.
Even the arcade machines, talk about a crazy format change going from an arcade machine to like a personal gaming system, like a console back in the days.
Do you know the biggest jump, and it will always be the biggest jump, isn't pixels to polygons, because we've seen that technically, I mean, that's a big jump, but we've seen that still people make the older looking games all the time, that kind of stuff. The biggest change has to be Red Book audio, your CD audio. To hear a person talk in a game, even at the starting. So, dude, I play Altered Beast, and you'd be like, what the fuck? But there was a subtitle, and it would say, "Rise from your graves." So your brain would hear that. It wasn't that. It was, I'm not lying, it's terrible. It's, you go listen
it's
to it.
It's all like MIDI sounds or stuff like that.
Dude, Space Harrier would be like, get ready. But that's what I heard in my brain. But really, it's, hey, that's it. And they put the subtitle.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh my God, this is talking. Then Joe Montana Sports Talk Football came out. And that one was a pretty legit digital, like they did a pretty good job. You were like, ooh. And I believe it was a mixture of digital with really low bit rate audio transferred into MIDI, if I remember right. But then Soul Feast was on the Sega CD. And that one had a real intro by a person going like 1,000 years ago, the blah, 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 blah. And you were just like, holy shit. And remember, they were able to do music that way too. So now you have your symphonies, you have an orchestra. So a person doesn't have to spend hours programming bit music in. They can literally get an orchestra and put, you know, actual instruments in. And it was a game changer, man. I mean, just absolute game changer. It was... Oh, Night Trap was another FMV game. Night Trap, where you were trying to stop ninja monsters from killing everybody. Dana Plato from Different Strokes was the main actress in it. She's passed away. But what a weird game, man. It was for your horny teen, because it was girls in a sleepover event, if I remember right. You were trying to stop these ninjas from killing them.
Classic.
Yeah. It was classic, man. I played the fuck out of that game. Sewer Shark, I played oh my God. Played so many hours of that. Because, dude, you were fooled easily. By the way, Sewer Shark as a game right now would not be acceptable even as a mini LED on a character's wrist. That's how bad it looked, because it was super low bit rate. It was 8-bit color or something. It was terrifyingly bad. I think it was 16 total colors that they could display, and it was micro blocked everywhere. If you took the picture, the best picture of that output, and you put it on a character in a game, and you put it on like a wristwatch this big, you'd go, what the fuck is that? It looks horrendous. That's how bad it was.
It's like a 240p.
Dude, but when you were I don't even know if it was that, but when you were playing, you were just like, this is the fucking craziest of crazies. Cobra Command, one of the greatest games. It's a cartoon helicopter game, and you would like aim your reticle. The helicopter would like be flying through the city, and it was all cell shaded. It was all a cartoon. Sorry, it was animated. So you'd be flying. It looked like a G.I. Joe cartoon. And then like a helicopter would come in and sort of flit around. You had to shoot it. And when you did, it would blow up, but it would blow up wherever they drew it blowing up. So like it would sort of like move a bit and then blow up. But you were like, what the fuck is this thing? And then it would crank up. So you'd have tight timings on it. And Dragon Slayer is the same way. You were looking at it going, this is a fucking cartoon. By the way, Dragon Slayer's art style is better than most games I see right now. Like, I would kill for that. And
yeah,
that's why especially Sega CD, once that became a thing and PlayStation and everybody incorporated it in, we saw a lot of games that did that for a lot of years. Road Avengers was a Mad Max FMV game that was amazing. You'd have guys leap on your car, and you were like Mad Max, had a big blower. You'd have to like get them off the side of your car, and if you wrecked, it showed a cartoon wreck of like 1980s Hasbro or whatever, Hanna-Barbera type of animation. And it was...
Are they still making FMV? I used to play a ton of them a couple years back, but I haven't gone back in.
Yeah, we played last week. Solar streamed for about 4 hours, the newest of the Chinese Princess one. I can't remember what it's called, but we beat all of the last one. We beat Bunker. We beat Complex. We haven't done...
I've done those two.
We haven't done Contradiction yet. He doesn't seem... Everybody in chat continually tells Solar how good Contradiction is.
It is good, yeah.
But for some reason... he doesn't seem like something. I don't know if it's the way the guy looks or but for some reason.
I mean, it's a bit goofy, right? It's kind of.
Oh, dude, no, it's not nearly as goofy as some of the ones we played. We played the one where the influencer is on an island and getting chased by like killers, and it is not good. But he played that one, but he hasn't played Contradiction yet. I'm like, but there's Telling Lies, there's Immortality. Immortality won. Her Story won awards 6, 7 years ago, not for broadcast. So a lot of those games are still doing quite well. I mean, the Chinese Princess one did insanely well. Of course, it probably sold well in China too, but it's insanely high production value. It's like, we're talking, they don't even look like theater stages. They look like the Chinese government was like, build a city. We'll do this here. It was crazy. What else do we got?
This one from Get Tricky. How do you pick and choose games to review when there is so much coming down the pipeline? Another question. I notice you don't review as many multiplayer games. Any specific reason?
Yeah, multiplayer. I mean, I do if I can get them, but you have to ask for multiple codes. And a lot of times there's little clicks. By the way, this is not a bad thing. There's little clicks and I have people offer it, which is great, like Lord Addict or Fighting Cowboy, Marco. A bunch of people will be like, hey, if you want to jump in. A lot of those games don't review in the same way. So, like, I'll review a multiplayer game for sure, but if it's just multiplayer, you're reviewing people's interaction with it too. You're not just reviewing the game. You're sort of reviewing, especially if there's no single player at all, then, but I've reviewed all the Injustice games. I've reviewed, fighting games, but like Road to Empress, thanks. Yeah. Is the Chinese, princess game. Yeah, I mean, I will, but I mean, in all honesty, not to be rude towards anybody, but I would consider that almost every single multiplayer game in the last couple of years has been early access as well. If you go and look,
a lot of them are. Yes.
If you go and look at what I'll review, I try to steer clear of early access. And so de facto, I end up steering clear of many a multiplayer game. I just do, just the way it pans out, because that's not, I have no clue if that's even going to be close to what the game is. And by the way, there's still some savings you can do, but I feel that an early access purchase is way different than what I'm talking about. Early access, you probably are already... Maybe you're, you like the idea or something.
You're bought in somehow.
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing. The other was, how do I choose? I do not choose. I will email all the companies I'm interested in covering their games, as well as some that I'm not, meaning I like to review games. I have no clue what they are. And whoever answers first, even if it's a small company, gets that review period. So
you lock it in.
Yeah, like for the schedule. Doesn't matter. I would skip, like if I told if Road to Empress 3 was coming out and I happened to be dumb enough to request GTA, I would review Road to Empress before GTA, even if that caused me to not get the review out. Because I
respect the integrity.
Dude, I've told the company yes. Like, that's why if somebody does it, I am very cagey. I'll be like, well, do you anticipate the code overlapping with GT? I would ask that, and I've done that before. I'm like, do you anticipate this code overlapping? Or I'll say, depending on time, I would love to review the game. And then I always de facto, every time, if I don't use the code, I'll say, here's the code back. Please give it to somebody else who could use it. I do not want that code. Now, some companies, they give that weird ass, oh, no, you keep it, give it out. And I'm like, no, that's okay. I don't do that. No, you go ahead and keep it. And I'll be like, okay, whatever. For whatever reason they want me to keep it. So I will keep some. But I will always just immediately email back and say, you know what, this time is closed. Can't do it. Also, I've been burned a couple times by companies saying they'll give me codes and they don't. And because of this, which sounds like, oh, like you said, you respect it, but it burns me. There have been games that I've plotted a full week around and that company
the code doesn't come.
Ghosts me. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, damn.
Wow.
I've tried to work out and keep within the rules I have for the channel, but it doesn't always work. And then
that's the worst, because
it is the worst. It is.
You're not sure if what's going on.
There was one here recently where I was like, I looked, I signed NDAs, and I'm like, okay, so this is for sure happening. They said it's for sure happening.
Should you commit to another thing then? Like, don't know.
And they DM'd me like 3 days after, and they're like, we'd like to offer you a code, and I was like, oh, and I'm very nice. I was like, oh, apologies. I think this reached me late. I had already signed the NDA for the pre-release, and when it didn't come, I bought the game. I was very nice about it, but I was like, so no, thank you. And they were like, okay. And my hope is that was a hint. They got it. That we signed an agreement for the pre-release. Why would I, not buy every game anyway? So I bought the goddamn game. I was like, I'm going to buy the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't work.
One thing on the multiplayer thing as well, I think you tend to review the single player part alongside the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we did Space Marine 2. Yeah. Which to this day, one of my funnest gaming memories.
For sure.
Just jumping in with you early.
Fun.
I was so excited, right? Like getting to play that early, and we were hanging out playing the game. It was super fun process. But you also talked a lot about what it is to play the game by yourself. What's the campaign like? What it is. I think that's really important because, like you said, that oftentimes is the foundation of the game. And a lot of people will play solo at times. They might do bots, right? So it's important to cover that. And a lot of people cover only the multiplayer, and their experience is very colored by their group of friends too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really speak to the nature of the game sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard to, now that you've been able to help me, Absy was able to help me, Reg, but you at least have some output that you can use because of Space Marine. You can use that output. With Absy, you didn't have a channel. So you're really just saying, can you make me money? Because you're not going to want to pay somebody. That would be weird. To be like, I want to pay you to play this game with me. That would be weird. So, and then some reviewers, they already have, big groups to play. Some don't play at all. Fighting Cowboy is always open to play a game, but Fighting Cowboy and I don't always agree on what game we're even reviewing at any particular time. But yeah, it's just a weird situation. But I also think the single player of any multiplayer single player game in some way impacts the multiplayer, whether you're talking about movement. And then you can also say the movement in the single player is different. Just a heads up that there's a completely different style of movement in the multiplayer that doesn't exist at all in the single player.
Yeah.
And so you have to do that. Worth it to review games moving from EA to 1? I guess if I'm interested in the game, yeah. There just hasn't been a lot of games that also go to 1. Not to be rude.
That is sadly true.
Well, it is
Power World,
sadly
maybe.
True. Power World, yeah, there you go, Power World.
Because there isn't a ton.
Do you know how many games don't get to 1? Or maybe they do 2 or 3 years later.
Years.
And it's like,
yeah.
At that point, that's a weird one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Titanic meme. It's been 80 years. Or 60.
That was my question, and thank you. Yeah, no worries. Glad you asked it. It's an interesting point.
By the way, I'm always free. If you want a homie to do some multiplayer testing, hit me up. And it's not for content, it's just for fun. I really did enjoy the process. And I like the way you do things because you set up hey, listen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course I will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
No, it's just
I respect how you do things because you will say, listen, are you free at this time? And we'll be like, okay, we're locking in to play the game.
Yeah.
There's no
That did burn me.
Yeah, dude, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, yeah, for sure, I'm there. And then, no, they're not.
Yeah, that didn't work well with Takedown.
I enjoyed it.
And especially because I'm like, listen, there's no advertising. Like, we don't do, at least so far, there hasn't been a sponsor. So it's like, I can't pay you, but I am going to demand that you're there at a particular time. And Takedown was playing a co-op game that is fully co-op. You cannot play another way. And he ghosted me. And he had promised, I'm not even mad. Yeah. I should have known, but he promised me he would be there. And I was like, dude, what are you going to do? I mean, it's a person's nature. It's just in his nature. He's chaos. He's anarchy.
Yeah.
You just don't know, but he's fun to play with. So I was like, okay, we'll do it. Reg has helped me.
Hard to pin him down.
Reg and I played all the way through a game. One thing I will say, though, is a lot of companies will straight up tell you we only have one code and we have a multiplayer section. Like Forza, they only gave one code, but they had multiplayer groups that they were putting together. So a lot of multiplayer games will just be like, they're not going to give you another code because that's another person that needs to sign an NDA or what have you, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be tricky.
What else we got?
This last one from Ralphinator. What are you guys' thoughts on the recent news of Black Ops 1 and 2 being ported to PS4 and PS5? Personally, I adore both games, but I'll be lying if I wasn't a bit disappointed that they didn't at least upscale the graphics or make it safe to play through Steam.
Two things. One, the psychology of the tweet is so fucking interesting. Did you see the psychology of that tweet?
No. No.
Oh, dude. It's finally happened. We're porting Call of Duty blank and blank to the PlayStation. It's already been on the PlayStation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was on purpose. That shit was straight up on purpose. That was, they could have easily said to the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, but it was not. It was that, dude, that was on purpose. It's finally, it's like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can catch some people, oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. These are older games. I didn't know they weren't on there. That was the first thing multiple people in the chat said, is they were like, I thought that was on the play. What? Like, so there was obvious confusion there. I guess I'm excited for it. I don't know. It must be a big deal. But to me, it's like, if you like those games, that's awesome. They're playable on your new system and they're not backwards compat or whatever on the PlayStation, I guess. Maybe that's why. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And Iron Galaxy, I think they said. Is that correct? I think Iron Galaxy is the one porting that. I could be wrong. On that. But yeah, cool for them. I mean, they're ancient ass.
They are. I would hope they do at least an upscale. But if that's not the case, then yeah, I agree. It's disappointing if they don't.
Disappointing. Yeah, that is disappointing. Oregon says, did y'all try Mistfall Hunters at all? I did not. I was interested in it. Black Ninja was playing it, and he seemed to like it. There was multiple people who have seemed to really enjoy it. I was going to do a preview for it, and shit got in the way, I guess. But from what I've heard, it's actually quite enjoyable. And there's not many games like it. It's an extraction medieval, but the way they do it is a little bit like that game that came and went. It got like announced, and then they had to close it down right away. I can't remember what the issue was, but yeah, no, haven't got a chance. Darren says, just to say every podcast, great listen, great personality, great rapport with each other. Keep it up. Love you guys. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. He mentions that a couple days ago. Somebody was like, oh my God, I hate that they agree all the time. And it's like, number one, we don't agree all the time. But you know what we don't do? We don't stick on the fucking disagreement. Like, I am a firm believer that also, while you can change somebody, I'm a pretty good judge on if I can. So if I say something to Johnny, and Johnny's just not into it, I'm not going to fucking waste a single calorie just extending a podcast so I can fucking try to pretend as if I have any chance of talking Johnny into it. And I can guarantee you, Johnny has no chance of talking me into the raft. Like, it's not going to
And I've tried.
Happen. Yeah.
I have tried.
We don't agree on a lot of things, but we do not hamper on it, man. That's not what the podcast is about. It's not about, dude, I see all these Twitter comments where it'll be like, did you guys watch this podcast and this podcast? They really got into each other, and it'll be just arguing back and forth. And I'm like, dude, I have real life where that happens. I'm not going to fake bring it into it. If in real life something happens, I've argued with people on the podcast, but it's rare. I mean, and you have to look at somebody and be like, dude, seriously, am I going to change this person's opinion? One. Number two, is an opinion worth changing? Is an opinion, what's the end result? They play a game. Let's say it's about games. End result, they play a game that you think is fun that they don't. Okay, sort of valid. Or they now like a company that they hated, or they now hate a company that you liked. That's tangential at best. Like, oh, I'm going to remind you about all the shit. Like Samsung, Silver and I disagree completely on Samsung, but we don't disagree on the activities that they have done at all. It's just he won't buy their products. And I'm like, understood.
Yeah.
So we completely disagree on that, but the end result is slightly different, and that's it. And we talked about it one time. We were back and forth, and it was like, that's fair. That's how fucking adults work, man. Because I'll get shit. People will be like, oh, he hammered on this. I can't believe it. I'm like, yeah, but I don't hammer on other people. If I'll joke. I'll tease you and Absy for trying to sell me on Raft, but you guys were teasing me.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the greatest discussion.
Yep.
That is the most fun when you are back, but it's all like, it's not yelling. It's that funny, like...
Yeah, the banter.
Yeah, somebody dug their heels in, and two people were like, but, and you guys were teasing me about all this. Like, whenever I bring something, you like, but later there's not a raft. And I was like, what the fuck? It's called the raft. What are you talking about? That was a blast. That was a blast.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, too, it's one of the reasons why I don't watch a lot of podcasts anymore. I can't stand it now. It's just, and by the way, I was on Lord Addicts, the Iron Lords podcast, had a great time. And Solve and King got in not an argument. They got in their thing. You can call it what you want. It didn't bother me. It's just not my thing. It's just, I mean, it's my thing on stuff that matters. But they were talking about, one of them had said something, and then they were like getting into like, well, you always do this, blah, 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 back and forth. And I'm like, this is not important enough to matter.
Yeah.
You know,
a part of it is like pick your battles, right? If we do disagree on some like really important value or something, and that's going to be a thing, it's good for us to dig into it and clear it up. Yeah. But if it's like a surface level disagreement, like something about Xbox, like I just don't care enough about it to. But I think also it's a personality thing where some people do like to disagree for the sake of it. And I think that's just a preference that I prefer. Like, I think agreeableness is a good trait. I know that now after like Jordan Peterson and stuff, like people say that you should be disagreeable, and it can be really good in like a professional setting sometimes. But I really think that in relationships, it really helps when people have a good level of agreeableness, and you can kind of like figure out stuff and not get hung up on random disagreements and stuff like that. And I found that's been one of the things that allow us throughout the years to just kind of get along and have a good time together, you know?
People don't realize we disagreed a shit ton when you first came in because I couldn't understand a fucking word you were saying. Remember that? Remember when you first came in because you were learning English and I was like, dude, what? And what's his name? Lansby ends every question with a but, even if he's agreeing with you. And you're just like, what? Yeah. But what? And they say what you say.
Yeah, and I was like, kind of debating, you know, I was a bit more confrontational at the time and stuff.
Well, I don't know about that. I think for me, at least, because confrontation's weird if you don't care. And I think I know people have definitely got on me for being like, you don't seem to. I had somebody who, they were really mad because I said at the end of the review, I'm like, after that, it is just a review for a video game. And there's very few things that matter less. There's very
not
few
at the
things
top of the list.
They're not at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, yeah, he doesn't take it serious, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you can be serious about your work and not serious about the result after it's out of your hands. And if you don't believe that, sorry. I can still learn from that and be like, you know, maybe I'll do a little extra explaining on this, or maybe I won't worry about it. But you can absolutely have a ball. You can be super serious when you're working, take it super serious. But the moment it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
That's when you put that review out, it's gone. You've lost any control over it. You put it out. Just like you'll hear actors say they don't watch their own movies. They're like, why? It's done. It's a moment in time. It's gone. Like, it's gone. I'm just watching the past and maybe getting hung up on it. And I think the same thing happens with disagreements. I'll pick ones that matter or pick ones where I'm like, what? But other than that, yeah. Yeah, it's a weird time. I think especially console wars. I think some people were really unhappy the console war stuff had sort of died down a little bit. I think there were a lot of people who were super excited that Sony, I don't think I saw this where people were super excited that Sony wasn't doing PC games. And I was like, wow, you are excited because that means there will be more confrontation about a video game. I was like, why don't we have confrontation about the best of these video games? Why don't we have confrontation about a marketing practice or, or the lies that we're told or the lies we tell each other or what have you? But they're like, no, I would rather be PlayStation versus Switch or PlayStation versus Xbox. It's just like, damn. Okay, man. Whatever.
Yeah, a lot of it is what people choose to focus on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that was the last question in the thread today.
So I've got some. That was the handheld gamer moment. At what point do visual improvements just stop mattering? Every showcase seems to have games that look incredible, but the games I remember most from the last couple of years weren't necessarily the prettiest. True, but I do remember the prettiest. I think graphics do matter to me, and performance matters. Yeah. But I would say that...
And I don't think we're shallow for that, by the way. I think that really there is something to be said about where graphics meets gameplay.
Yeah.
In that, where one services the other. We've seen games like God of War, where, it looks incredible, it feels great to play. That is magic. We shouldn't understate what really awesome graphics can do.
Yeah. And art style. If somebody makes a game that's great cell shaded, like Wolf Among Us, I wouldn't like nearly as much, I think, if it looked like real people. I mean, Borderlands changed from realistic to cell shaded, and it's remembered for it. No reason to ask that one. Ooh. Okay, this is interesting. What's the biggest game currently in development that you think people are massively underestimating? So a game that people are probably shining on. Okay, I'll tell you. But I don't know if it'll do good. But I feel that they have the chops as that Bloodwalker game. I feel like some of the stuff they've shown for that is like, it was rough. They showed a couple previews that were like, whoo, that's, it's not ready, obviously, right? We know it's not ready. But some of the gameplay elements that they have in it, I think that game could end up coming across like a Dragon's Dogma. Because Dragon's Dogma was this way. I don't know if this is way before, probably, Jesus, I don't even know if that was before you and I were talking. But Dragon's Dogma 1 was really ignored because of its look. It's everybody was plain looking. It's got the brown drab. It's got, middle Euro look. It was very desolate. The people who were interested were more interested in the magic they showed or what have you. But it was really sort of like, whatever. And then when it came out, it was like, holy shit, this game is fantastic. So I would say, I would say Bloodwalker. Bloodwalker's mine. Do you have any?
Is it Blood of the Dawnwalker?
Blood of the Dawnwalker. Sorry. Yeah. Blood of the Dawnwalker. Yeah.
I think Bloodwalker for short.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. What,
actually, there is one that I think about. It's called Valor Mortis.
Yeah. I've seen previews.
Was kind of like a mix. Yeah. It was like a mix of Souls game with like some guns. I think it was first person, if I remember. Kind of medieval armor suits looked very cool. And that looked really interesting and genuinely pretty unique. Yeah, I think that can be a good surprise.
Does Beyond Good and Evil still count as being in development? Yes. At least for right now.
What about that Beast of Reincarnation? Do you remember that?
So, dude, yeah, but I don't think people are So that was going to be my other one, but I don't think people are underestimating. I think, in fact, most of what I've seen has been pretty excited. Yeah, being like, wow, that looks like biological kind of stuff. And with the wolf, of course, everybody loves having a dog friend. That's like the best part of a game. That's in there. I saw a lot of people saying like they were very, very interested in that game versus the opposite. So
wasn't that one from the studio behind Pokemon?
Yeah.
That was the most incredible part.
Yeah, and just what I saw and everything, I was like, oh wow, this
goddamn, they can make a video game.
It plays, how close to Dark Souls or a Devil May Cry it skews is gonna be my excitement level, but that's neither here nor there. Here's one. I used to finish every giant RPG I started. Now I quit games the second they waste my time. Damn. Has your tolerance for filler gone down as you've gotten older? No. But it depends on the filler. We were talking about Mutopia, treating the IP right. Everything was about cats. If you're playing Kingdom Come, there's a shit ton of filler in that game. But the filler is the fake simulation of doing things within the game world, and it doesn't feel necessarily like filler, even though it is for sure filler. It's absolutely filler. It is filler. So because you can buy the weapon, you don't have to craft it. You can buy the things. You don't have to do any craft, but I did crafting because it was in there. I would say mine hasn't got, maybe my time has got a little shorter, but it just depends on, I've always been tired of filler if it was for filler's sake, regardless of how old I am. Like MMOs. Dude, okay, all the way back to Dragon Age Inquisition in the Hinterlands. So I would say my time, nothing's changed now that I think about it. That's a good example. That was years ago, and that game was pissing me off because it was a bunch of filler, and it wasn't filler that felt connected to the game world. It was like, go find 6 flowers, go do this. And you're like, this is an MMO. And that's not what I signed up for. So, yeah, mine hasn't. Has yours?
I don't think so, but I think I've gotten a lot better at dropping stuff I'm not enjoying. Not only for games, but for books. I might be halfway into a big sci-fi novel, but I kind of found like I'm not enjoying the pacing of this. I'm not enjoying the characters much. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to go ahead and read something else. And I think that's a really good skill. It sounds weird, but I view it as a skill to not like stubbornly go through something you're not enjoying, because that can actually hurt your enjoyment of the hobby.
Yeah.
If you think about reading and you're reading a bunch of stuff you're actually not enjoying, that's going to make you read less, right? And games is the same thing. If you force yourself to finish a game just for the sake of finishing it, you might spend like kind of a miserable 20 hours, right, to finish it. And you could have played something you would enjoy a lot more. So, for example, Crimson Desert, I had a great time with it. And then when I stopped enjoying it, I dropped the game. And I was better for it instead of like trying to push, another 60 hours to get through it. So I'm a big proponent. And yes, you do have to balance it with like spending money. You don't want to buy every single game, stuff like that. You want to get value from the games you play. But yeah, I think as long as you're striking a good balance, I'm a big fan of dropping stuff when you think the time is right. And just hone in on the excitement for what you want to do. Sometimes you want to play something different, at that point.
Yeah. What about you guys in chat? Do you guys drop stuff? I would say the same thing about reading, but I do it automatically without knowing. If my brain is not engaged, I'll forget to grab the book the next night. And that's how I know. And
you just drop no drama around.
Yeah, there's not even an idea. I will literally look at a book and go, oh, I didn't finish that. And I will never, I could return to it. Occasionally I have, but it's pretty rare because I'm very comfortable in the idea that if I had cared, that would be a top priority, is to read that at night when I lay down to relax. And if it's not there, I'm 100% comfortable that subconscious me didn't log that as super important. And, you know, maybe I will pick it up a while later. It's very rare for me to pick up a book, because books, so when I'm reading a book, I don't hear anything. I mean, I hear dogs barking, blah, blah, blah. But if it's cold, if it's warm, if I'm uncomfortable, blah, 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 I probably won't notice. I can probably just read through it. And then over time, you become a little bit more uncomfortable. You notice the blanket is under your ribs and you're like, okay, it's bedtime. That doesn't mean it's bad. But what I've noticed with some books is I can never get there. I'll read the book, and for whatever reason, I'm never in it. I know a good book is when I'm in it and I'm just reading free flow, and there's no like bounce back into the real world where I'm just reading and enjoying myself. My brain isn't going, what video do I need to do today? Or the podcast is tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I'm just reading. I mean, you know, I know that hipsters now call it, I call them hipsters. They're not, obviously, but hipsters call it flow state, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I think that moment of getting into something and just, you know, sitting back and taking it in naturally. What's more exciting, getting the announcement you've wanted for years or discovering a game you didn't know you wanted?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's an
because it could be
one.
Both, right?
Yeah,
or either.
I think it's because it happens more often, I'll just go with discovering a game I didn't know I wanted, because that happens way more often than Firefly, the video game, being announced, or something that I knew I wanted. So,
and I think because we already know it's going to happen, it's automatically less exciting in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I know GTA is coming out, you know,
right.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But if I heard today, like, ooh, there's this new, like, super exciting game out of nowhere. Yeah, that's probably a bigger spike.
I'm just reading.
You're parsing a question.
Some are like general repeats.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good one. This is a great question. If somebody asked you today, why is gaming worth spending any time on? What's the first game you'd use as evidence, or what is a reason you would give? So if somebody came up to me and said, so if they're like, so I'm thinking of this as a relative. You go to a reunion, somebody's wedding, Thanksgiving,
what's
whatever.
What's the fuss with
and
game?
Somebody's like, you review video games. What's all that about?
Yeah. Why is that a good hobby? Obviously, it's interactive, right? That's a big part of it.
Weird that you said that, because the first thing in my brain is, I wouldn't immediately say it. I would ask him a question. Do you like movies? But do you read? Because many people don't read novels, blah, blah, blah. And then if so, I would say, well, it's an interactive version of that with rules placed on top of it that you can you sort of bounce into. But I would have to ask a question first, because I also don't give a fuck. There's not a single person in this world.
It's not like we're converting people to
if Mother Teresa was like, I will heal 1,000 children if you can sell me on games, I'd be like, sorry for the kids, man, but that's not my fucking deal. Like, my job isn't to sell you on that. Like, it would be very difficult to sell somebody on it. But I do get what he's saying, and I would probably ask him a couple questions and then try to work it so that they understood. Because like I've told my dad, because my dad never understood games. He didn't understand the Atari 2600. He didn't understand really anything. And a couple times when I told him what I was doing, I would try to explain a little bit more, and you know, you get the and I'd be like, okay, that means that's closed off.
That's interesting. I've never felt the need to explain, for example, to my mom and dad, they don't play games. I've never felt the need to explain to them why I like games.
Me neither.
And that's what I'm saying. They sometimes they see my stream and they're like, oh, that world looks really cool. You know, maybe I'm playing a adventure game. they might say something like that. So I think inherently they kind of see why I enjoy games, even though they don't play games.
I think my mom and dad basically are really old school. And are you employed?
Right.
Is
you got your
important.
Life together? Like,
I don't ask them for money. I've one time in my entire life I did. When I was a kid, I did because I wanted toys or whatever. But the moment I graduated, I never asked them for rent. I never asked them for money, and it wouldn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a big deal.
If I was in problem, but I was usually able to take care of myself. That's what my mom and dad worry about, and they worry about if you're happy. Mom and dad are very much. I mean, my mom and dad are pretty open about anything. We have like gay cousins, gay family members. That wouldn't bother them. If I was, it wouldn't bother them. I mean, if I told my mom and dad I was like a porn star, maybe my mom and dad might be like, I'm trying to think of the most egregious thing I would get a reaction from. I think
But even though they're old school, they don't have like a stigma with you playing games or doing that for a living.
I found out they were religious the day I graduated. I was not aware.
Because it wasn't a big, like, just wasn't a big topic for you guys?
Bro, it never, ever came up. I went to Sunday school one time because they went for maybe a funeral. So I don't even remember. I was super young. And I remember, you know, the Bible teacher asked me asking questions. And I was like, this is weird, you know. And then we painted some pictures and went home. And then when I graduated, somehow we got on the topic. And my mom and dad were like, oh, yeah, we are. We just didn't see any need whatsoever to like push it on
really
unless you asked. We just figured you'd sort of identify. And my dad and I don't have these conversations ever.
No, but I think similar to you, I only had that conversation later on because I was baptized as a young kid, but it was more of like a cultural thing. So we didn't go to church or anything. We just went for the baptism because that's what people did in my city. And then we never talked about it ever again. And like at some point when I was older, I just asked them like, oh, hey, do you guys believe in God? It turns out they didn't. And that was it. You know, it was never a thing really.
Yeah. And my dad, I think my dad was probably do well regardless of any worry of like the afterlife. And I love I have no issue with the worry of the afterlife making somebody do good things. I have no problem with that. I've been helped by religious groups when I had my cataracts.
Sure.
My wife's church paid. Absolutely. And we paid them back. Absolutely one of the nicest things. I don't know people's motives, even if they aren't or are or whatever. My dad was more of the be responsible, do good, and then why you do it is probably up to you more than anything. I mean, in all honesty, dude, I had a tractor trailer of a brother who just, was always in trouble. So my parents were probably just really happy. I mean, I definitely got in trouble, but it was definitely few and far in between, and it didn't involve like any alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
So they were just like, okay, he'll figure it out, And back then, fighting wasn't a thing. You fought all the time. No one cared. It's such a mind fuck right now. And I'm not saying bad. I'm just saying it's such a unique situation now where kids will be, you'll see a YouTube video of people fighting in a backyard and people are celebrating and betting on it. And you'll see a YouTube video of somebody pushing somebody and they're suspended from school or expelled. There's that huge gap between the two. And ours would just be like you fought and 2 minutes later you weren't fighting anymore. It was seen as nothing. Many people never fought in their lives. Many people fought all the time. It was just there wasn't there was never a religious sermon on the mount saying, turn the other cheek or whatever. It was like, you did whatever you did. I definitely had an overdeveloped stream of vengeance for a couple years, but that I don't know why. I definitely believed in revenge, but that went away. Sort of went away. I definitely wish terrible things on some people. really wish something.
Was it
bad.
Like you had a chip on your shoulder, like you wanted to prove someone wrong kind of deal?
No, it was just my friends. They were really, really the best friends you could possibly imagine. And if somebody, it would be weird if somebody were to tease me, I wouldn't give a fuck. It's just words. I don't give a shit. But if they would tease one of my friends, it was almost like an excuse to get away with something, I guess, when I was young. But it went away. You know, you're young. You do weird. But it was an overdeveloped, what did my dad call it? Overdeveloped sense of vengeance. And I would set people up. And we're not talking right in the moment. I'd be like, okay. And I remember Roger one day was like, anytime you raise your voice and agree with somebody, that person's fucked. He's like, I knew it every time. I'd be like, okay. No, it's okay.
Sentenced to absolute destruction.
No, it's all right. And they'd be like, oh man, somebody's getting like jumped or something bad is going to happen.
Marked for death.
Yeah, I would always just be like, okay, you've got the upper hand right now, but you won't. But yeah, those are just, they're just changes. Different parents, different lifestyles. Like our kids will act different, and I have no issue with anybody teaching their kids, but yeah, my mom and dad didn't. We had, we were taught biology. We were not taught any religion in my school that I remember.
Creationism. Yeah.
No, I mean, no, we weren't. Yeah. I mean, maybe when I was first to third grade or something, but that was so long ago. And I don't even remember that in high school. So I don't think we were taught biology, and we were taught, dude, did you ever get the banana condom talk? Did you ever get the sex talk in school?
Never. We never had that.
Mr. Rose, dude, this was one of the greatest things. Mr. Rose did this on purpose. I don't care what anybody says. Mr. Rose was sort of a dick, and he was our biology teacher. So he goes in there, and he gets a condom, and he gets a banana. And he doesn't get a normal banana. He gets a Mongo fucking, went to the store, got the largest banana you have ever seen in your life. And we all talked about this right after class. And he's like, we're going to show putting a condom on. And he was showing how to put a condom on a penis, but he was using the banana. And I'm telling you, it was super smart, but man, he was a dickhead, but it was super smart. Because the guys, no one joked. Because every person there was having a crisis of the most existential
They were thinking, this is what it's supposed to look like?
Bro! He was like, let me show you this banana. I remember sitting there and
he's
looking over
two-handing the thing
at the other guys and being like, what the fuck is going on right now? And it was it was existential, man. And nobody joked. It was super smart, but again, did cause, like, I mean, people, dude, you could tell there was an uncomfortable, like, what the fuck is going on?
It's like the meme of the girl saying, like, she's taking a small banana and it's a massive banana.
Yeah.
And then you just see a bunch of guys crying after.
Yeah, exactly. A little meme. Yeah, it was cool. Dude, I had a good time in school.
Good times.
Did you?
Yeah. School was a bit of a shit time for me because there was like bullying going on.
Oh.
And it was just a tough time for me. I was also kind of a late bloomer where I mostly found myself like in university years. That's where I started to thrive a bit more. Mm-hmm. So yeah, school was like rough years overall, but I had some good times as well playing games, and I had a couple of good friends during that time.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely, like, you mean bullying physically, or do you mean words?
Not so much. It was more like words picking on me for my looks and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had, so I guess you'd call it an unwritten rule, but like, dude, I would never, I mean, at least as far as I remember, never pick on somebody who like was poor or, looks wise, unless they picked on me or said something. And then I was notorious for like, that person I'm never going to stop. Like, never. But yeah, bullying's weird because we didn't have a lot. There was one person we had, I've talked about him before, that I was like, man, this person's going to be a murderer when they grow up. because they're just,
yeah.
I remember seeing him bully one of my friends, and no one could even figure out what was going on. I walked into it halfway through, and I was like, I have no clue why this person is picking on
borderline psychopathic.
It was pretty, yeah. But on the other hand, what we would see is somebody else would step in and be like, knock it off, and then, you know, those two would fight. That happened quite often. But yeah, we had some of it. I know some of my friends didn't like theirs. That sucks, of course. And it depends also if you have an open campus or a closed campus. I firmly believe our open campus helped. We had a closed campus until I was a sophomore or a junior, and then they opened it. So that means it was not only an open campus, they switched us to college course style. So some days you might not have, you know, your 8 to 3 o'clock school day. You might, Tuesdays, Thursdays might have been really packed, Mondays or a Friday, and you got to choose which ones you did. And so many people left, and I think that was positive, because a lot of people just weren't around to be walking the halls with nothing to do.
Yeah.
You don't want a group of, like, you know, a group of logging kids to be walking down a hall. That worked tremendous. I think it worked pretty well. I definitely know my grades were really good already, but I did even better. I felt that was actually open campus was good, and the open coursework worked well for us. And I chose a lot of shit I didn't think I'd like. I'm not the type of person who's like, I'm going to choose physical education. I chose stuff I didn't think I would like because I wanted to come there and have to concentrate. Because if I didn't, I was really dangerous when there was nothing going on. It was idle hands kind of thing.
I can see that. Yeah.
He took that banana home afterwards. Maybe so. Not me. Because, damn, that was a banana. That was a nanner.
Damn, son.
Damn. I mean, dude, it like sent me into shock. But my parents had one conversation with me about sex. That was...
Oh, did they? They had the talk?
It wasn't even the talk. I think I got caught kissing a girl, if I remember right. And they were like, you know, there's things that happen further, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I just wasn't, at that time, interested in, like, sex. You know, I think you're just figuring out what goes on. And, dude, there was no porn, right? When I grew up, there was no internet,
of course not.
Phones. So I wasn't seeing the close-up 7-millimeter fucking depth of field vagina view.
Dude, the closest thing I had growing up was, like, Basic Instinct, the movie with Sharon Stone.
That movie.
Yeah, that was, I guess that was my kind of like initiation into that, where I was like, wait, hold on. But dude, I was so innocent at the time. I didn't even know like what are they actually doing physically? Are they actually, you know, I was still, is she grinding? You know, what are we doing here? I was still figuring out the physics of everything. And I'm just realizing now that I had no like sex ed like you guys. We never had a class. I didn't really have the talk like with my parents. Like my dad was pretty open about sexuality and stuff, so he did talk to me about stuff, but it was never like, here's a 101, you know, or a how-to kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess you just pick it up through media, and like eventually I went to a kiosk and bought a magazine. It's like a Penthouse. Oh my God, right? That type of stuff.
Yeah, and, you know, ours would be talk at school or whatever, and then, you know, over time finding a movie or something like that somebody had, like a Basic Instinct, like you said. And it was, I mean, I don't feel like I didn't know, or what I did not know didn't harm me. You know, you'll see some people saying, blah, 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 because we were definitely told about contraception, but that was in biology class. It wasn't just about, you know, sex. It was like, here's how a baby is made. If you watch like a baby being made, 2 horses or a fucking beaver, it doesn't matter. You're still like, I figure out that's probably how they're all made. And I've seen some dogs humping. Yeah. So I'm pretty close to figuring this out. You know, I was a smart enough kid to put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, well, that's how things work. Yeah. Yeah. It was a weird time. I think some people worry about that too much. Like they worry, like, I think you should worry that your kid gets too much data. Not.
I think
not,
that's
not
the
enough.
problem. I think that's the problem today. because there's so much of it that it would be easy for you to just be overwhelmed or maybe even become addicted to looking at that stuff all day, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's so stimulating, right? For a kid.
Dude, and it fucking rewires people's brains just like any,
Oh, yeah.
Any, what do you call it, gambling or whatever, or games. I will hear people, though, say, like, I don't know if I'm playing games too much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, seriously? I feel like the people who worry about that stuff for sure aren't. It's the person that you aren't talking to because they are playing the
games. Have some self-awareness if they're asking that question.
Yeah. Whenever anybody says, am I a psychopath? It's like, nope. Probably not.
Yeah.
Very low chance. Unless you've learned that is something that they wouldn't ask. You know what I mean? It's
am I a bad person because X, You laughed at a short person in a video. You're not a bad person. I mean, maybe you are.
No.
But,
Dude, I think humor is meant to surprise. That's what humor is. It's why you can't tickle yourself for the most part. It's the surprise. It's the anticipation. It's not knowing the thing. And that's all wired in. And when you see somebody trip and fall, when you see something that you don't expect, when something surprises you, if that weren't true, we wouldn't have people laughing at funerals. We wouldn't have people laughing during sex. We wouldn't have people laughing. Like, you can't just separate. It's all the same biological. Like, laughter is sort of a contagion. It can get into the weirdest shit at the weirdest times. I've seen people laughing their heads off at funerals. And it's like, it's a nervous laugh, but it's still laughter, and it still does the same thing. It still depercolates whatever pressure is boiling up, Yeah. And it does
some type of coping for that person.
Coping mechanism. This should be a must-see for kids. You guys explained it with True Class. I don't know if that's on. I don't know if I think he's telling a joke, and he wants us to be surprised by whatever punchline he's going to say. What else do we have? What time is it? Oh, we're good. We're just
that's about it. I think we're at 3.
Got any,
3 hours.
Any cool science or any more childhood stories or anything amazing? I saw the thing where they're saying that they were talking about a new type of star that they're saying turns into a black hole.
Dude, that's what I was going to bring.
Oh, were you going to bring that up? Yeah.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
like some black hole stars.
Yeah, black hole stars.
From the early universe.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it could only be possible from an early universe star because of what they were made out of and their size and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Somebody else mentioned something that actually blew my mind. Whenever somebody talks about, like, if you fold a paper enough times, it'll reach the moon. You'll you'll hear those little one-liners. And one of the ones that it sort of boggled my mind was it was Sarah Walker talking about the chemical that they sort of use for assembly theory. And she was saying that, like, by sheer mathematics, if you were to find every possible combination of this chemical using chemistry, it would fill up the known universe. And I was like, I just don't understand how you would even.
How's that even?
Yeah,
possible,
what is that?
Man?
And what do you mean? The word, a zero, the number, or are they 3-dimensional objects? Like what form are they taking? But it's like, holy shit, yeah, it's nuts. Whenever and by the way, I'm not second guessing it. They're doing maths that are like, infinity maths, or that one guy who was like, what did he say? So. This sort of felt, dude, I don't know. This felt like a little bit of like, look how cool I am. It's not actually real. So there's infinity, right?
Yep.
But there's like 7 versions now.
And so there's bigger infinities.
But there's also the infinity between the number 1 and 2. Because if you go smaller and smaller slices, and I'm like, listen.
Yeah, you never get there.
But then you just pretend number 2 is your infinite number. It's just infinity.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? I think it was Brian Greene was trying to explain that on fucking, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
And we've all heard the thing with the infinite hotel where you have an infinite number of rooms. Yeah. And if one extra person comes in, you just shove everybody to the side. And now you got +1.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
but
we get that
they're different infinites
at a
feels
theoretical
like,
level.
Well, yeah. a theory. I mean, if it was real, it wouldn't even matter to us anyway, right?
That's what I always think. Like, I get it, I get your explanation, but on paper, like, what does it mean for us to say that something is infinite, truly? You know?
Yeah.
Are we saying that it really goes on forever, or is it just, you know?
Is it just I mean, in all honesty, dude, I think most of the time, infinite and its discussion doesn't even have a place in most discussions that pops up. Where you're just like, dude,
I think that's the issue, right? Is that we're taking like maybe a mathematical concept and we're trying to bring it into our macroscopic experience of the world. It's the same like when people are talking about quantum mechanics. There isn't always a translation to our experience. And in the same way, stuff that we experience doesn't necessarily have a correlation in the quantum. You know, you could, sometimes we talk about free will or consciousness here in the podcast, and some of those things may not have a foundation at the quantum level.
Yeah.
See you later, man. And, you know, these could just be emergent things in our layer of experience.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when you look at it, I mean, it's like saying that the color blue to somebody is a number. It's like, okay, makes sense. That's quantum. You know, things, mathematics break apart. Things just don't make any sense. But it's at some point you're like, okay, I have no issue with people studying it. But basically, at that point, they're saying we're studying something that has no connection to us whatsoever, at least in like so far. Again, they'll continue to study it, but and then trying to like argue that, and you're like, dude, we can't even figure out if everybody can agree on, you know, whose land this land is, let alone a quark. I don't know, it's just sort of odd. Yeah, but it was
does it
hearing that discussion? What were we gonna say?
Does it excite you more when they find a world that's like similar enough to Earth that it could have life as we know it in it, or when we find a place that has other conditions but that could also lead to life, maybe a different type of life, you know, maybe not carbon based? Or is that second one where you just imagine the weird?
Because otherwise you'd be like, okay, there's a high chance that it requires Earth-like chemistry and blah 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 to create alien life. If you land on Europa and there's fucking ice dolphins, you know, doing little sports games, sliding on the ice, and there's fucking, you know, and they're breathing and doing crazy shit.
Yeah, fucking metal sharks.
Yeah,
in
that's
Pluto,
crazy,
you know,
shit. Like that's where you're like, holy shit, that's 2 times as much stuff now. Now all bets are off.
And it's also like life can evolve in different, you know, there's like different branching ways that biology can form. So maybe it's not just DNA, how it works for us, but you could have other types of reproducing genetics, right? That works differently. That most likely, I think
physics is more involved than, I think physics and chemistry are involved more intrinsically than we assume. So DNA might be the best storage container in its shape and its format. And it's crazy that we were able to identify it way before we could see it. You're like, it's got to be this kind of pattern, because physics also says the best way to store this much information is in this kind of lattice network, blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff, I think we will find out that there's some physics involved, and energy and how you use energy. Is it ATP, which is what humans use, or is it something else?
Yeah.
But you just look at Earth and you get like the fucking the blue shark, or sorry, the gray shark that lives in like the ice in the north that like is 150 years old, slow, super slow, barely moving. And then you get something that can only live in thermal lava, like near the edge.
Completely different.
Yeah, completely different. It's like, all right, well, if that's just one set, then I assume there's a ton. But I think,
I agree with you. It would be
so far away, we won't see anything. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we won't see, but it would be disappointing if like we see an alien ship, like it's landing, we're so excited, right? Holy shit, they're here, it's happening. They land and it's just like Joe Bob. You know, it's like basically another human. but from another planet.
I would. So here's the thing: if they show up and they're a Tyranid, or they're a fucking, some kind of weird Slurgoth slug creature.
Yeah, they just spit acid at you.
I would be far less worried if they showed up and they had any biological needs that were even close to ours: space, foods, unique properties of their hands that were like ours, that kind of stuff. That's when you worry about competition. But if the dude shows up and
we're probably fucked.
Yeah,
if there's a competing
Slurgoth, I'm like, well, that can't even be created here, because of let's say,
because if they got here, by the way, they're way more advanced than we are.
Oh yeah.
So if we're in any way like in competition, we're completely screwed.
Yeah, you're completely shafted.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting if by the time I die, because I also don't believe 99.99999% of like the UAV. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is a UFO. This is a UFO. This is a UFO," and half of the time it's like always filmed from some machine that is known to have a.
Yeah, we got the most incredible cameras in every phone on the earth, but like we got shitty video and audio everywhere.
And now we have deep fakes that are getting good. And you're going to have those kind of things in. I'm going to need something to land, and I'm going to need to be there, and I'm going to need to be attacked by it before
get me a body, you know?
Yeah, get me a body. And dude, even that, man. I mean, even that. We're like...
Yeah, we're getting to the point now that, it's rough.
I need to see something literally... I mean, I have seen some weird shit, so it's like, at the same time, I'm not saying I won't believe, because I do believe in some stuff that I never thought I would. But if I saw like a UFO zip over my head, stop for a second, look up, and I'm like, okay, that is definitely a UAV, but then it spins around and sort of drops down and it looked like I'd be like, okay, it's either a drone that's trying to fake everybody out. But, I think most of the time you can figure that out, especially speed. I don't know. It's like, I hear people going like, oh my God, it's because, we used atomic bombs and they're worried about that will destroy the earth. And I'm like, dude, seriously? Come on, dude. Come on. That just doesn't even make sense. We used 2 and we set off a couple hundred and they were watching at that exact time. Nah. They're here probably for your feet. Just your feet. A delicacy on their planet is just your feet. And they're going to snip it off and leave you running around on your stumps like we do with certain animals. That'll be it.
Still better than the anal probes. Marginally.
Man, that's a discussion. That's a psychological discussion we need to take up, because I don't know.
We'll punt that one.
Running around on little stubbins would suck ball. Anyway, that'll be it for us, everybody. Thank you very much for sticking with us, hanging out, talking about anal probes, talking about space. If you got this far, #probe.
Great one. Yeah.
#probe.
Cheers, everybody.
Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.